Welcome to the Exchange Show. I'm your host, Steve Stewart, and we are live here today. Today we've got Kevin Parker on stage to speak about his beloved Sergio Agüero. What a player he has been in the Premier League, and sadly, it is his final season. We're also joined by Jerome Marks. How you doing, Jerome?
Yeah, fine, thanks. Good evening.
We're joined by our Chief Scout, Steve K. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, I'm fine, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
And how are you doing today, then, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Another great performance by City yesterday. So we're getting ever closer to that Premier League trophy, hopefully. Be looking forward to dragging them red ribbons off and putting some sky blue ones on very soon, hopefully.
Yeah, what the Premier League's done, but tell us about yesterday's performance. A goal from Mendy and Jesus. Jesus stepping in, filling the shoes of Sergio Agüero quite well this season.
Yeah, they're very difficult shoes to fit. To be honest with you, you know, I like Jesus. To be honest with you, he's still very young. Mm-hmm. He's been with City quite a while. I do like him. He's not an out and out centre forward as such. He'll play. I think his best position is probably wide. But to be fair, when we've got the likes of Raheem Sterling and Mahrez and Torres, who's now a full international for Spain and scoring goals. Mm-hmm. I think that, to be fair, Jesus is probably going to be getting more of a run through the middle. But I think he's not a bad player and he will score goals for us. And I think he's never really had a real run of games where he's been able to settle in. I was delighted that he scored yesterday. He does like to score goals against Leicester, by the way. I think he does.
He does. Got a very good record, doesn't
he? That's his favourite team. But following in the footsteps of Sergio Agüero, that's going to be very, very difficult. 257 goals for City.
Yeah.
How can you possibly fill those shoes?
181 Premier League goals, and I think it's fourth on the all-time top goal scoring record in the Premier League, and a name that usually gets missed when you talk about all-time greatest Premier League goal scorers. It's a name that's not in the conversation, but it always goes to Henry and Shearer, and Sergio Agüero is not really one that's banded about in that conversation, which is a surprise.
For some reason, I don't know. I've got some crazy stats as you might expect. Since Sergio Agüero started playing for Manchester City in 2012, Sergio Agüero scored 12 hat-tricks in the Premier League, which is a Premier League record.
Unreal.
During the same period of time that Sergio Agüero as a player has scored 12 Premier League hat-tricks, Liverpool have scored 6, Arsenal have scored 6, Chelsea, Manchester United and Spurs have scored 5. So as teams, they're not anywhere near him as a player. His average, his average minutes per goal is 108 minutes per goal. The closest to him is Thierry Henry at 122 and Harry Kane at 122 as well. There was a period 2 seasons after he started for City, for 6 consecutive seasons, he scored 28 Premier League goals or more for 6 consecutive seasons. And the last player to do that in the top league of the English division was Jimmy Greaves.
Now, when you put it like that, should people start having him in the conversation? He has to be now.
He has to be. Listen, he's only ever been in one Premier League Team of the Year that the players vote for, which I don't understand. He's never won an individual award, Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year. He's been in the English Premier League for 10 seasons. He's never, ever caused this club any trouble at all. He's not one of those who his agent has come in and said, if you don't pay Sergio X more money, he's going to clear off, to back to Spain or off to France or another Premier League club, whatever it might be. I don't know what it is about him. Maybe he is too. A little bit in the background as an individual. Listen, you look at Alan Shearer, and you look at Wayne Rooney, and you look at Thierry Henry. They're a little bit out there, aren't they? You know, Thierry Henry, God bless him, he's got the looks of a god, I suppose. You know, got all the charm in the world. So that endears him, I think, to the British public, and I can understand that. But Sergio, his English has never been the best. I think it's better than people think, but he's never been one of those to come out and say a great deal. But his record does stand for itself, and it's a terrible shame that he's not. In fact, this week has been almost great because for the first time, people have appreciated talking about him, but they've only been talking about him now that he's decided that he's leaving.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 330 goal contributions in 385 games for Manchester City, and that's an absolutely phenomenal record. You'll find it very hard to beat, and sometimes, Kevin, it's a case of you don't know what you got till it's gone, and once Sergio Agüero's gone, the Premier League will realise what they've missed, and they should have realised it this season with him being out so much.
I'm hoping the Premier League realises what it's missed. There's been some speculation that, listen, Sergio Agüero has done so much for Manchester City. He can choose where he wants to go, of course. But there's been some speculation that he might end up at Chelsea. God forbid that he ends up at another English team. You know, that would drive me crazy to think that he's playing in the Premier League. But he's earned the right to do what he wants to do. You know, that goal. And listen, you're right, he scored so many goals for us, 257, that you can do what. But that particular goal, of course, we
don't need to say which one because we know which one.
Everybody knows.
How did you feel that day? How did you feel that day?
Well, it was a crazy story, this, to be honest with you, because I go to the game with my sons, but they sit in a different part of the stadium. That day I was doing hospitality. And, of course, we talked in the morning. We were playing QPR at home. They were virtually, everybody thought after we're going to be relegated. So we'd made this arrangement, and I said, at the end of the game, when we've won, I'll come round to where you are, and we'll see the Premier League trophy being presented together between the two sons.
A formality.
Yeah, of course it was a formality. You know, our home record that season was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So after about 88 minutes of sheer frustration, I thought to myself, well, I've still got to go around and see them. You know, they're going to be more devastated about the fact that we're losing this game 2-1 than I am. So I've still got to go around and see them. So after 88 minutes, I went back into the lounge, took my lucky coat off. It was a beautiful day, but I had this big overcoat on and a scarf and my gloves. All my lucky things, I took them off and put them down on the table where I was sat before I walked round. As I glanced over my shoulder, looking at the television in the lounge, Dzeko scored. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh, that makes it even worse. You know, it's going to be 2-2 this. Not even we've lost this game. We're going to draw this game and still lose the league. And one of the girls on the table, one of the hostesses who would sit down, she said, come on, City, we can still do this. I'll hold my hands up. I'm thinking, women and football should never, ever be mixed, you know. And I'm cursing inside. And then I glance around again, and of course, the whole moment then of Agüero, and I'm running around that lounge. There's hardly anybody in here to grab. So I went onto the concourse, and I'm running around to see my sons. I couldn't get in because so many people who were leaving the stadium had come back into the stadium. But we, of course, you know, then we enjoyed the moment that we talked about of just embracing and seeing the trophy. It was an unbelievable day, and everything about it we'll never, ever forget. We'll never, ever forget. And I also think for a majority of neutral football fans, it is the iconic moment in Premier League history. Listen, for us, it was special because not only had we won the league, we'd not won the league for 44 years. but would won the league in Fergie time and would stop Manchester United winning the league on goal difference, having beaten them 6-1 at Old Trafford. Everything just came together.
And the fact that they were celebrating as well. The fans were celebrating as well already.
And for 30 seconds, they were Premier League champions. Lucky 13 for them. And it's and listen, and that's part of it, I suppose. There is an element of that Sergio is defined for one goal, but in reality, he scored 257.
Yeah,
and he's right up there with the best of them. And when the news came out this week, I've got a friend actually who knows absolutely nothing about football. He doesn't know anything about football. So I'd posted on Facebook, "I'm devastated," or words to that effect. Yeah. And then the following day, I'd posted something saying, 24 hours on, it's still sinking in. And then I saw him on the Friday, I think. He said, "Has that Sergio fella died?" And I said, "No, what do you mean?" He said, "All over Facebook, everybody's devastated." I said, "No, he's leaving the club." But that's what it has been like. There's been so many City fans that posted things that it has almost been like a death in the
family.
And it's a shame. Listen, but it's got to end. We've had Zabaleta, we've had Yaya, we've had Company, we've had David Silva. We've now got Sergio is the last surviving member of the team that won the league in 2012.
Wow.
It's a sad day, but listen, football moves on. It's got to move on. If you don't evolve, you become very, very stale, and you end up being Manchester United.
do you think he can still do it in the Prem if he does go to another Prem team? Would that worry you a little bit?
Well, of course, the difference is I would love Sergio to go somewhere like Barcelona or Inter Milan, because then I would want him to be successful.
Yeah.
David Silva left Manchester City after 10 years last season, and he went off to Spain, and all the City fans. And yesterday they won the Copa del Rey, didn't they?
Sociedad. Yeah.
Sociedad after 34 years. Ironically, David came to City, and in his first season we won the FA Cup after 34 years. Wow. Now he's with the Sociedad, and they've won their first. And all the City fans are delighted because, what a magnificent player, and he's won a trophy. And if Sergio goes abroad and whoever he plays for, they win a trophy, we'd be delighted. Would I want him to win trophies if he went to another English club? Obviously not, because he'd be winning those trophies at the expense of City. And I don't think he's been such an icon with us. I don't really think it would sort of work. Even Frank Lampard, when he left Chelsea and then he went to New York City and then he came to play for Manchester City for a short while. The Chelsea fans were a bit miffed about it, weren't they?
You did get a bit like that.
Because the legacy. So, and I sort of understand that. So I do think he's earned the right to do what he wants. I just hope that he doesn't play for another English team.
No.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. Completely understandable.
Has he still got it in the Premier League? Listen, it's difficult to say. He's not scored many goals for us in 2 years because of his injury record. I don't think he's ever quite suited Pep's style of play, if I'm honest with you.
No, I don't think it has. And he's played his way into the team, hasn't he? And there's been many a times when it seems like Pep's tried to drop him, and he's got back in the team. You can't drop someone who's smashing in the goals, and that's the thing.
And I think he certainly deserved his statue. That's for sure.
Oh, listen, I saw some. Listen, we've got a little bit of stick about the whole statue thing, and I do sort of understand that as well. But I read a stat earlier this week, and it said that Manchester United got a statue for Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton, and George Best, which is understandable. 3 great players, of course. Dennis Law played for Manchester City before he played for Manchester United, and then after he played for Manchester United. famously, of course, put United into the second division with that back heel at Old Trafford in 1973. But between the three of those players, they won 13 trophies at Manchester United. Vinny Kompany, David Silva, and Sergio Agüero have won 31 trophies between them at City. So on that basis, they deserve a statue.
Yeah, and I can't understand why you wouldn't, because just because it's recent history, it's still history. Like that's put City like right up there.
Oh, listen, you look at the fans' forums. Manchester City were only formed in 2008. You know, we've no history. We won the FA Cup in 1904, which was before Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs ever won a trophy. So that doesn't count for anything because, of course, we've no history. We were formed in 2008, and with no supporters either. So,
that's
an easy one. That's a lazy one. I
think another reason why he deserves that statue is because not only was he a goal scorer, he was a gentleman. You know, he was a true gentleman, and he's a role model. And he's someone that, you know, that kids of today, you know, or kids that are watching in, if they're watching today, they should be looking up to him just for what he did outside of football. And you know, as well as that, he was a goal scoring machine. I mean, he'll be sorely missed, and
he'll be sadly missed. And the biggest shame of it, of course, we're not. Well, I was going to say we're not going to be there to see it, but hopefully 10,000 fans, if the Premier League confirm that, 10,000 fans will get the opportunity to see him in that last game of the season at home to Everton, when hopefully we might be presented with the Premier League trophy as well, if things go as they should do. So, but even 10,000, we missed out on saying goodbye to David Silva last season. The fans missing out saying goodbye to Sergio Agüero this season as well is a big shame.
How was Agüero looking in the Leicester game? Because he's a few games back, isn't it?
He hardly had a touch, to be honest with you. He looked a little bit. But he's not played very much, so give it that. Yeah, he's not played very much, but he wasn't particularly involved in the game, and I think that does go back to what I said before. I don't think he's ever really suited Pep's style of play, but he's worked on that. He's worked on his game since Pep came. I think Pep just—it's not a criticism, but I think Pep just looked at the opportunity now that Sergio is at the end of his contract to say,
call it a day.
Actually, my style of play doesn't really suit you, Sergio. So we're going to take the opportunity to say thank you and goodbye, and just move on without you. But it probably is the right time, because there have been players in the past, not particularly at City, but there have been players at the past who have overstayed their welcome at a football club, and then they leave the club in the wrong way, don't they?
Yeah. And you've got to start looking for the future as well. You've got to get your replacement in, get them settled, and they don't want Sergio Agüero in the background potentially having to. They want to know they're coming in for that spot. Who's the likelihood of that player being? There's Haaland going about. There's Kane, Lukaku.
Listen, it's not going to be Haaland at 180 million euros, and 20 million euros for his agent, and 20 million euros for his dad, and 570,000 euros a week for the player. That's not going to happen. Manchester City do have lots of money, but I think we've always spent it wisely. Our maximum transfer fee has been for Ruben Diaz, which was just over 60 million pounds this season. Liverpool spent 75 million on Van Dijk and 70 million on their goalkeeper, and Harry Maguire was 75 million, and Paul Pogba was 90 million. City'd spend their money wisely, although they do spend a lot of it. There's no way that they would spend that amount of money. So I don't know. Pep's sort of suggested on Friday that they might not even sign a striker. I don't think that's going to be the reality. I think they will sign somebody. Listen, the review about, I posted something on Twitter today. The Ander Silva, who plays for Frankfurt in Germany.
Yep.
If you look at his goal scoring record this season, he's scored 24 goals, 7 assists in 26 games. He's actually got a better record. He's 25 years of age. He's actually got a better goal scoring and assist record in the Bundesliga this season than Haaland. Yeah. And he would probably cost you 40 million euros.
Yeah.
So Harry Kane, I would not question Harry Kane's ability as a goal scorer, not at all. I'm not quite sure he's a Pep fit. I'm not, to be honest with you. Again, though, I think Spurs, quite rightly, would probably want £120 million for him, because we all know what the chairman at Spurs is like for getting a deal for his players.
Exactly.
We wouldn't pay that. I read today that Inter Milan don't want to sell Lukaku. I do like Lukaku because he scores goals, but they wouldn't want to sell him. So on that basis, they'd be asking for 120 million euros as well. I just can't see that we're going to spend that amount of money. So I think if we do sign somebody, it's going to be somebody that City have got their eyes on. That's going to be, listen, it's a bit like Diaz, who's been absolutely unbelievable this season. Unbelievable. And he sort of not came from nowhere because he was established in Portugal and in the Portuguese team, but he wasn't sort of being linked with the top teams in Europe.
He wasn't the name like the Koulibalis that were going around. Yeah. So and it doesn't. With City.
I think City probably know who they want.
Yeah.
But it won't be anybody that's over £100 million. No chance. Yeah,
it will be the right person, not necessarily the standard elite names that are going about. So it'll be interesting to see. And City and Pep, they're in good hands to get that replacement. Kevin, love having you on.
It's always a pleasure. Absolutely a pleasure. Sorry, it's not for something more exciting. It is. We are quite sad that Sergio's leaving.
Yeah.
No. This we had to have a tribute, and who better to have on for a tribute than you, mate? Definitely.
Definitely.
All right, we'll speak to you soon, Kevin. We're good to get you on before the end of the season.
Always good. Take care.
Thanks, Kevin. Cheers, mate.
Thank you. And now we're joined by Richie Mills and Nathan Ellington. Richie, you have a bright smile on your face, live from Old Trafford. And I see that Danny Welbeck has come back to haunt Manchester United and have taken the lead 1-0.
Yeah, that man Welbs. Can you hear me okay? Is it all good?
We can hear you.
Yeah, it's been a very strange game, I think, just in terms of United started really well. You could almost throw a blanket over both teams. They were all kind of crammed into Brighton's final third. Greenwood hit the post. There's a couple of sloppy errors from Brighton, but then out of nowhere, I think one of Man U's players got dispossessed. Mopé had a pinpoint cross in, and then that man Welbs headed home at the second attempt. And then since then, United have not been the team that started. They've been sloppy, bad passing. I think Cavani especially has been off form. And Lallana and Basuma really, I think, running the show in midfield. And what's it? I think 60-odd% possession, but no shots on target for Man U. I think that's pretty telling.
Are Brighton getting more chances on goal that they could be taking and maybe push this game out of reach for Man United?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had the better of the chances. I mean, Lewis Dunk almost made it 2-0. Gross whacked over a corner, and Dunk rose highest and headed it straight at Henderson, and he pushed it onto the bar and over. Henderson also fumbled a cross in from Gross as well. He didn't look great. I think he tangled with Maguire. But yeah, I mean, as the half wore on, it looked like Brighton were the team more likely to do it. They were more cohesive, and they looked like they had a game plan, and they were definitely executing it.
All right, Nathan, how are you feeling at halftime? 1-0 down. Welbeck's come back. Not prolific, but he's there. He's there again.
Yeah, when I saw the starting lineup again, you know, we're playing pretty much most of the team that I'd like to see, but then you've got Lindelof and Maguire again at the back. And it only took, you know, 15 minutes of us pressuring them, looking good. All of a sudden, one attack, one quality cross in. Lindelof can't get his head on it. And this is the big difference between Abayi or someone else. I'm sure Abayi would just head that clear and there's nothing happens, but he mistimes it. It's a good cross, but he's seeing it all the way from the side. There's no one on him. He's there and he just jumps, misses the header, goes straight to Welbeck and he scores. So for me, it's just a kick in the teeth, seeing that happen over and over again. We always have to let, you know, these kind of things happen. It wasn't like intricate play, but Brighton just worked their way into the game. They're looking a lot better now, and they're looking more like they're going to score every time they attack. We just don't look like we're going to do anything because all they got to do is put 2 banks of 4 in, and that's all they're doing, and we got no answers whatsoever. Greenwood is coming more inside. Like Richie was saying, you can throw a blanket on every attacker in Man United's team, and they're just right there, and Brighton are just dealing with it very easily. The only person with space is Wan-Bissaka, and he's the one person you do want to have it if you're a Brighton supporter, or if you're a Brighton player. But he's not really going to put in a ball. Nothing's happening. Cavani's standing around, wondering when he's ever going to get service into the box. That's what he's there for, but that's not the way Man United play. We don't have that simple way of playing that I'm seeing West Ham and your Brighton do it. They get up and they put a ball in with quality in the right time, and that's how you get headers on the ball. But again, we're looking
what do Man United need to do to change that in the second half?
Move the ball quicker, stop taking 5 touches before you pass it, and then make some movement. Like, have some movement. What I've been saying, like, from day one, if we don't have a pattern of play, it's up to the players to do what they want. They just don't know what to do because they just haven't got a clue. So they're just thinking off the cuff again. And then obviously nothing's happening, nothing's opening up. And you just got to hope somebody does some kind of magic to open it up so it's 1-1 again. Because if it stays like this, I'm telling you, it's going to stay this tight and nothing's going to change. The game's going to go to 2-0, maybe 3-0, and we might get a goal out of nothing. I'm telling you, we got to fix up.
Would you make any changes at half time? What would they be?
To be honest, there isn't really much you can do with the squad that's there. I would like to see Diallo come on, but he's not going to bring him on in the game like this. I don't know even to be honest, there's not much you can do. You've got pretty much most of the team that you want to see out there. The only player I'd like to see is Diallo, and I'd like to see Van der Beek move the ball around. You know, you need a Van der Beek in there. I'll just take out Fred and just put Van der Beek in there. Fred's doing okay. I'm not saying he's not. He's breaking up play and stuff, but someone who will move the ball quicker and got more imagination. You don't need Fred in this game. The way it is now, it looks like if we had all the possession, they're not going to really do too much. Obviously, like I said, with those two at the back, they might do too much. But it's one of them ones. It's hard. It's really hard because we don't look like we have any kind of fluidity there. We just need to up our game and just change mentality somehow.
All right. Richie, do you think you could hold out to the end of the game on this one?
So Brighton are second best or worst at throwing away leads. They've dropped 17 points from winning positions this season. So if you're a United fan, there is definitely still hope. Brighton's management at times not good.
Now.
I think it's only Southampton that's worse, isn't it?
Yeah. So yes, I mean, I personally, I don't think United will continue to be that bad. I just think they've got too many good players, and I just think if they can get back to what they were doing in the first 5-10 minutes, they will definitely find ways. Because also one thing that I think to note is that Brighton only have 3 defenders and they're playing 2 midfielders as wing backs. They've got Jakob Moser on the left and Pascal Gross on the right. Pascal Gross is not the most mobile of players. If you get someone like Rashford running at him, he will run circles around him. So they're not out and out defenders, and I definitely think there's more than enough time for them to come back. But if it doesn't, then maybe changes are needed.
All right, thank you. And Nathan, is there still hope? Is there still hope? Richie's saying there's still hope.
There's always hope because you never know. United might just turn up second half like they have been doing this season. So if they do, then we could get 2, 3, or 4. You never know. But the way we're playing, I can't see it right now. I just hope they come out with some kind of difference in attitude, because that wasn't good enough at all. I don't want to see another half like that again. But it's the tale of this season, isn't it? One half bad, one half good, or full game bad. So it's one of the two, isn't it? So.
All right, we will catch you guys at the end of the game. Thank you very much for your halftime analysis. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Boys. Cheers,
All right, take care. Take care. And we are joined by Ian Danter. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm good, Kieran. Thank you, chaps. Nice to speak to you all.
Nice to meet you. How was the game today?
Oh, my goodness. I didn't turn up at St Mary's expecting that, I have to say. The tempo was, particularly in the first half, was fantastic. It was breakneck stuff. And you have to give Southampton oodles of credit, because at 2-0 down with the form that they're in, chins would have so easily gone on to chests. But I think that the fact that they got a goal back from 2-0 down as quickly as they did was the pivotal moment in the game. Yeah. I think if they'd stayed 2-0 down through to half time, I think that would have been a very tough half-time team talk for Hasenhüttl. But to go in level at 2-2, just some great football. And it was, as I say, the tempo was magnificent. And Burnley contributed fully to that game. I think they looked really sharp for the first hour with their 22 days off or whatever it was that they had. I thought McNeil was really good left-hand side. Brownhill and Westwood seemed to be linking well in midfield, and Wood and Vidra, great little partnership they had going, but they were just a bit naive at times.
Yeah. It's surprising for a Sean Dyche team as well. They're usually quite compact, quite disciplined, but it seems to have gone a bit different this season. I think they need some wholesale changes in it. But it may be a bit too late this season for them. You're here today to speak about your team, Birmingham City.
Yes.
Is this a boyhood team? Is it a family thing? Where's this come from?
It's a family disease passed down from generation to
It is,
generation.
isn't it? It always is.
It started with my granddad and my dad, obviously. My granddad's brother, Jack Danter, used to sweep the terraces at St Andrews way back in the just after post-war and things like that. And
he was not getting away from that one, was he?
No, the whole Danter clan are blue noses. There's the absolute. You don't choose your choice sometimes in football. I appreciate everybody's got a slightly different story to tell, but it seems to me with everybody I've known and everybody I've met and all my closest friends, nobody's chosen their choice. It's something that's kind of been bequeathed onto them. So from 1974, when I first went to St Andrews as a 5-year-old boy, that's been it. Birmingham City's been my life.
And you've seen a lot of ups and downs. You've seen the Premier League era and back into the Championship. And where are you guys now? Where you just got Lee Bowyer in? Does it seem like it's getting back on the right path? Some stability there, maybe.
Oh well, we needed somebody to be a bit more proactive as a manager following Aitor Karanka's spell. I think it was summed up perfectly, Kieran, by what happened in the game on Good Friday against Swansea, where it's 0-0 and there's 18, 19 minutes to go. Aitor Karanka at that point would have brought on Mikel San Jose and another defender at 0-0 to try and protect and get a point. What Lee Bowyer did was he brought on Sam Cosgrove and Scott Hogan, attacking substitutions to try and win the game. And lo and behold, we win it. It's a simple game sometimes, football.
It is.
And Karanka was kind of hamstrung by his own, I don't know, his desperation not to rock the boat and not to do anything outlandish. Very much in the mould of his mentor, Jose Mourinho.
Yes. And as you say about Lee Bowyer, and you said sometimes football's very simple. Lee Bowyer's a very simple character. My other team is Charlton, and I used to go and see Charlton quite a bit. And Lee Bowyer is one of the most honest, humble managers you'll meet out there. He says it how it is. He says how he feels the game went. If the player doesn't play well, he will say that. And I think that resonates well with the fans and the players as well. So I think that could be what you need.
I do worry, though, that when he said he doesn't expect the sort of problems at Birmingham that he had with Du Châtelet at Charlton, he doesn't know the half of what he's walked into at St Andrews. We've had an owner in prison in the last 10 years, for goodness sake. So you rule nothing out and you rule nothing in. You've got a club at the moment where, I don't know whether you guys are aware, but the Tilton and Cop stands are structurally unsafe at the moment, and they need urgent repairs. And these were stands that were only built in the early 90s when David Sullivan and the Gold Brothers first came to the club to buy the club. And the Tilton and Cop stands were the first stands that were rebuilt. But there are severe problems structurally, and fans and even the office staff cannot work in those stands. And it's going to cost at least £1 million to repair. So in a way, I wish we had fans back in the ground, but we wouldn't be able to have fans back on two sides of the ground if things were as they are. That's just one thing that he's got to deal with. And he's got the most complicated ownership structure you could imagine. Lots of faceless, nameless, who actually controls the finances, share issues all over the place. It's a mess.
Yeah, haven't they just sold 75% of the club as well?
The ground has been sold.
That's
yes,
at St Andrews.
Yeah, St Andrews has been sold, and we're renting it. And you can see the potential for another Coventry City on the horizon. That's the worry. All the malarkey they've had with those hedge fund managers, Sisu and the Rico Arena. Thankfully, Coventry are going back there next season. Of course, they've been, our tenants for the last couple of years. So all Lee can do is control the controllables. That is, get his coaching drills across to his players, make them more confident, and it's quite clear. And I'm not one to jump on you can see the change within 2 games bandwagon, but just that double change, Kieran, that I mentioned alone of bringing on Cosgrove and Hogan with not long to go in the game, is that absolutely sums up the difference in the 2 management styles within 2 games of him taking over.
Yeah, and sometimes when a manager's making those decisions and you kind of agree and you can see what he's doing, if it doesn't go right, you can understand it. But if you're making a change, like you said, you bring on a defender and you do go on to lose the game, you're pulling your hair out.
Well, I was up at Sheffield Wednesday, one of the few times I've seen Birmingham live this season for a TalkSport 2 commentary. We went 1-0 up. Scott Hogan scored. This was when Karanka was still manager, obviously. And he did that thing. He did that thing with 15 to go where, bearing in mind, Sheffield Wednesday were down to 10 men at this point. Liam Shaw had been red carded. He brings on 2 defenders, and we're defending practically back to the Sheffield Ring Road. We're dropping back so far. And you would not, as it turned out, we held on for a 1-0 win, but you would not have been in the least bit surprised if Wednesday had got themselves an equaliser. It was too risky by being not risky enough, or not having the courage of his convictions.
But if you're needing all that done to the stadium, Ian, does that make it doubly important now that you stay up?
Well, you were saying, Kieran, that I've supported the club in the Premier League era, and I have, and of course, it was at times it was a magnificent spell. But Steve, most of my life has been spent watching Birmingham in the second tier of English football, and we've had a couple of spells in the third tier. Not many people will remember this, and it's not that far back. We got relegated in the late 80s, early 90s. We got back promoted. Lou Macari was our manager for a time. Terry Cooper took over. And Barry Fry was manager when we were relegated again. This was, again, the Barry Fry times were such fun. I can tell you, we had that season, 94, 95, we were in the third tier, what is League One now. I think it was called the second division in those days. And even though it was only one season, we won the double that season. We won the title in that division, and we won the Football League trophy. It's the Papa Johns now. It was known as the Auto Windscreens then. I can tell you, and I didn't get to go to every game because I used to work Saturdays in the job I used to do. But that's such fun that season. Barry Fry made watching Birmingham fun again because we had years of malaise. My concern, Steve, going back to your original question, was had we gone down under Karanka, then the malaise would have felt far, far worse. Because at least when Barry came in, all right, he took us down. He said, "Oh, take us out of this division." He didn't say which way. He forgot to tell us which way he was taking us. But he got us back, right?
Yeah.
But with Lee Bowyer, I have a feeling that were the worst to happen, and we're not out of the woods yet by any stretch of the imagination, were we to get relegated, then with him at the helm, then I'm more settled in myself about what would be to come the next season. Although, of course, I don't want it. I would much rather stay put. And we've had some flipping close shaves in recent years in the Championship.
Yeah, look at your fixtures, though, Ian. The ones you've got coming up.
Yeah,
they're more than winnable, aren't they? I mean, I was just looking at that one away to Rotherham. I think pretty much if you win that, I think that then you.
Well, let's not forget Rotherham have got 4 games in hand on us, but their fixture pile up because of the COVID issues that Rotherham have had makes it really tricky for them. And there's that old adage: you'd rather have the points in the bag than the games in hand. Fair enough, and that's usually right. We've got Brentford on Tuesday. I'm going to that game. I'm commentating on that game for TalkSport 2 on Tuesday night. Look, Brentford have got their own agenda trying to keep pace with Watford in second place. So that is going to be a very, very difficult game for Birmingham on Tuesday night. But I go there as a neutral commentator, but I go there if I, with my subconscious Blues hat on whilst I'm watching it. I'm thinking, well, do you know what? We can give these a game with the attitude that the players are now showing. Had we gone there under Karanka, it would have been horrible. Yeah, and there's no, and his body language was horrible towards the end. There was the shoulder shrug count. You watched his post-match interviews, and there was somebody there was a 2-minute clip somebody put up. I think it was his last game in charge. In a 2-minute clip that you get on Twitter, because that's about all you can put up most of the time, isn't it? 2 minutes 20 or whatever it is. There were like 20-odd shoulder shrugs. 20. So the body language is just awful. And look, and the Blues fans were picking up on that. Yeah, everybody else was picking up on that. Football fans elsewhere were going, look at this guy. He doesn't know what to do. He looks clueless. So. Let's see, Steve. I don't know. I don't rule anything out or anything in. We're not out of the woods by any stretch.
No.
What is it that Birmingham do to sort of, if let's say they consolidate this season, they stay up. What is it they do to move forward? Because Birmingham is a big club. Even when they were that Championship club, it was a bit like Wolves. It was like, but this team needs to be in the Prem because it's that club. So what is it they do going forward?
Well. There's money that was gained from the sales of Shea Adams to Southampton a couple of years ago and Jude Bellingham, of course, to Borussia Dortmund. A lot of that money has gone to service debt. It's not money that is necessarily thrust straight into a manager's hand. And the transfer window that Aitor Karanka had, the summer one, there were a lot of players brought in. You think of George Friend, you think of Adam Clayton, you think of Mikel San Jose. There were players brought in, maybe not on big transfer fees, but the wages would have been half decent, not exorbitant. We had that a few years ago in the 2017 summer transfer window, which was what got us docked 9 points in the end by the EFL for breaching FFP regulations, paying Hotter loads of money, bringing him in from Brentford. Sam Gallagher being brought in on loan from Southampton, and apparently we were paying him more than Southampton were paying him. Work that out in your head. Wow. So there's a lot to unpack for Lee Bowyer, Kieran, in terms of he's got to look at the squad and make some evaluations. He's probably doing that already with the end of May in mind and going into June. There's 1 or 2 out of contract. He's got a lot of players from different managers strewn across the last few years. On different pay structures, and he's managed to unite them, it seems. But there's an awful lot of work to do. Please don't expect that Lee Bowyer can make transfer changes in the summer and suddenly Birmingham City are a highly competitive, challenging for top 6 side again. Personally, at the start of this season, even though it was Karanka, I was praying for mid-table mediocrity. That's all I can. I just want 1 year. 1 year of finishing 12th, right? And not flapping like a kingfisher when it comes to the last 2-3 weeks of the season. You know, again, we're in the dirt, and we've got to get ourselves out of it. So next season, I think ideally what I would like to see is, you know, keeping hold of the players that seem to get the club and understand the club. I'm not sure how many assets we've got in terms, you know, obviously having sold Bellingham and sold Adams. I'm not sure that we've got any assets of that sort of caliber hanging around at the moment. But just a quiet summer and just a sensible approach to bringing in players that understand that level of the game, rather than just spending money like it's going out of fashion. We're in COVID times, for goodness sake. People have to be careful. Because the money's not there.
It's not. Speaking of Bellingham and Adams, is there any young players that you've seen come through that you think, or potentially that could be not maybe their level, but could sort of help the ease of money?
There's another Bellingham.
Oh, is there?
Jude's younger brother, Job. He's part of the academy. He's more of a winger than a central midfielder that Jude has obviously shown himself to be. But could be the next one, I guess. It's going to be a couple of years before you see him in the first team, I would say.
All right.
Keep an eye. Another Bellingham. There could be another 4 or 5. I don't know. No. So he's one. In terms of those that are in and around the squad at the minute, it's not a particularly sexy position, but Steve Seddon, who played at left wing back on Friday night against Swansea, he's had a couple of loan spells out at AFC Wimbledon, having come through the academy. I like him a lot. What I saw from his time at AFC Wimbledon, he really was growing into, you know, his role. He's one to look out for. There's one or two. Keelan Boyd-Muntz. There's also I think it's Bajrami, who's a centre half. But there's not an obvious talent who's, you know, everyone's talking about this guy's ready to come into the first team now.
Yeah.
But Odin Bailey's been on loan at Forest Green Rovers and has done okay. He might be another one to listen out for in terms of a name. But Joe Bellingham, I almost feel sorry for him because of his surname. He's
got a lot to live up to already.
Yeah, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. So there's a name to throw in there just for a bit of fun, and we'll see what happens.
Are you surprised at how well Bellingham's done since he's gone to Borussia Dortmund?
No.
You saw it there early doors.
You could see. I saw his debut down at Portsmouth in the EFL Cup because Pep Clotet was manager at that time, and he made a lot of changes. I think it was like 10 changes, and it was all kids. And Bellingham, what you could just see, it was a strip of a thing. He'd snap like a twig in a breeze when he looked in. He was just completely straight down, pencil shape. But you look at him now; he's V-cut, isn't he? You can tell he's been on the weights at Dortmund.
He has.
He's got the broader shoulders. He looks far better for it. But yeah, you could tell then. So he became Birmingham's youngest ever player that night at Fratton Park, and a couple of weeks later, he became Birmingham's youngest ever scorer when he got a goal against Stoke City at St Andrews. Took it all in his stride with the sort of maturity and intelligence in the way he spoke about it after the game. And he just learned, and the number of, he wasn't expected to make that many appearances that season, but he made well over 30 appearances in all competitions. And you could see it, Kieran. He got the balance. He could go either way. He had the ability to pass short or long. And as you saw with his performance for England, when he received the ball, he never seemed to be flustered or seemed to be in any worry about what happens here. No, he's completely in control of what he's doing with the ball at his feet. Honestly, you could see it from moment one. And all Birmingham fans are so proud of what he's achieving. You know, there's no hard feelings at all for Birmingham fans, because one thing he did do was he signed pro forms on his 17th birthday. When he didn't have to.
Yeah, he made sure he got the money.
Yeah, so we actually got a fee for him so that, you know, that there was a transfer fee. He didn't have to do that, but between him and his father, they negotiated with the club, so he signed pro forms, and therefore Borussia Dortmund had to stump up the cash. And that's, you know, he didn't have to do that, and that's the mark of what he thought about the club and how he wanted to pay it forward.
I see that interview, didn't he? He did that interview just before he went to Dortmund because he had links with Manchester United. and I watched him, and he said, I'm going to go and sign for Borussia Dortmund because I want to learn. And if I go to Manchester United, I just will get lost and I won't be playing games.
So many tail-steeping players get swallowed up.
And I just thought, that's class.
Yeah.
A kid of his age. You know.
I think of there's Birmingham players like Jermaine Pennant. Do you remember when Jermaine came through at Birmingham in the Premier League era?
Yeah.
He'd had a bit of he'd had a couple of moments off the field that weren't great, and he played with an electronic tag on. You might remember, wrapped around one of his ankles.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
And we sold him to Liverpool for just over £6 million. Got swallowed up. You barely saw him. It was too soon a move for him, and he got swallowed up by Liverpool, and you barely saw him. The odd thing is, but I was saying, Kieran, that I first started going to watch Birmingham in like '74, right, which was when Trevor Francis as a player was kind of at the peak of his powers. He'd made his debut for the club in 1970, and he was called Superboy. We loved him. And the extraordinary thing is that Francis stayed at Birmingham for 9 years after his debut. He didn't move to Nottingham Forest for that £1 million record transfer fee until early 1979. I cannot possibly imagine that Jude Bellingham would have stayed at Birmingham for 9 years before a big club came in and took him. The landscape has completely changed. Don't get me wrong. I don't begrudge Jude the move. It was absolutely the right thing to do. And it's been totally vindicated by the performances he's been putting in for Dortmund. He's getting rave reviews. That's why he's got the England call-up. Gareth's not daft.
Yeah.
But just shows you, doesn't it? And Trevor was brilliant for us, but never moved. He stayed at the club. He had his injury problems at times. But a 9-year spell for a guy who scored 4 goals on his first start for the club, and we kept hold of him for that long. It just wouldn't happen now.
Yeah, it wouldn't. So who would you say is your favourite Birmingham City player? And does it come from the same era as your favourite team?
Well, it has to be Trevor Francis. I mean, I was in one sense, although I'll move on from this because the thing with Trevor was, of course, I was only a young kid. When he left, I was 10. So you know what you're like when you're a 10-year-old boy. You have your heroes, but you don't have the appreciation because you don't have the understanding of the game that you do as an adult to see what it is that all you saw was just, the goals and whatnot. So Trevor Francis clearly is, one of our greatest ever players. There's also a guy called Joe Bradford from way back when, our record goal scorer, who, that was long before I was born. But in terms of once I grew an appreciation, I don't know. You look. There's so many that spring to mind. A lot of them were kind of short-term boosts, like Christophe Dugarry.
I was going to say
2003. He shone so brightly, so briefly. And he came in. And I have to credit the other guys that Steve Bruce brought in that window because it wasn't just about Dugarry. We were struggling. It was our first season in the Prem. He brought in that winter window. He brought in, as well as Dugarry, Stephen Clements, Jamie Clapham, Matthew Upson, I think.
That's a top signing.
So great signings all. I think back to some of the players that helped get us out of the Championship and into the Premier League. People like Paul Devlin, a Birmingham fan who really embodied what the fans felt from the terraces. People like Devs were always a pleasure to watch. Brian Hughes, one of them, and you'll know him, Kieran, because he went to Charlton. From us, one of the most cultured number 10s who would score goals with either foot. Really talented player. Liam Daish, who was our centre half in the Barry Fry era. Brilliant captain, proper leader of men. Scored some crucial goals for us. But I keep coming back to Trevor because he just had the lot. And there's a bit of footage you can find of Trevor Francis on YouTube. There was a goal of the season against QPR at St Andrews on a peat bog of a pitch where he turns Frank McClintock at the edge of the area and it's just a devastating low shot into the corner. It's just blink and you miss it. Jasper Carrott used to do the joke in his routine, you know, a mock-up report. And Trevor Francis scored all 10 goals in Birmingham's 5-5 draw with Doncaster. He had to leave the field every 5 minutes to wipe the dead flies from his glasses. And that's how much he was revered and loved. And the one thing that I think all Birmingham fans regret is that when Trevor came back as manager in the 90s, he couldn't get us into the Premier League. He tried. Yeah. We got to 3 playoff semi-finals and lost each time. And the fans wanted it so badly for him.
I think that was it. I think that was around the time when I was seeing Birmingham, that team that was always nearly men, and then they finally got there. And you must have enjoyed your time with Steve Bruce there, getting you into the Premier League. And I mean, players like Mikel Forsell and players like that.
There's a great shout. I mean, Forsell came in our second season. So we'd stayed up that first season in 2002-03. Forsell came in initially on loan from Chelsea. He was magnificent. Him and Horsfield really dovetailed well together up front. What a finisher. What a natural finisher. With either foot. Mikel Forsell and Sebastian Larsson, who came in.
Sebastian Larsson.
Another guy came in from Arsenal. Brilliant free kick taker, you know, and great industry down the right-hand side. And he was loyal to us for a number of years. So those two guys are right up there as well. Yeah, Steve Bruce got us. I'll never forget the day at Cardiff when we beat Norwich in the playoff final. They closed the roof at the Millennium Stadium because Sky Television wanted to, because it was a really sunny day and it would have affected the quality of their TV pictures because half the pitch was in sunlight, half was in shade.
Yeah.
So they said shut the roof, and it was so hot.
Like a sauna.
Yeah, it was like being in the Amazon jungle. It was just humid and oppressive. And I was working there as a touchline reporter for the local radio station in Birmingham in those days, and it got to the penalty shootout. I mean, a penalty shootout to decide whether you're going to the Premier League or not. That's the ultimate gut wrench, I can tell you. Ultimate gut wrench. And Jeff Horsfield was stood next to me, and he didn't know what the score. He didn't know when Darren Carter went up to take his penalty. He didn't know that was the one that would have sent. What happens if we score this? Horse, we're up. You know. All right, he'd lost count. He'd lost count. So the wonderful day. And, you know, we did stay in the Premier League for 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah,
you know, we
and then went down, then came back up. McLeish, and then it's just, and then it kind of, and it's not been back since. It's about 12 years now, isn't it?
It's 10 years. It's the League Cup win in 2011. That was the February, and we were relegated in the May when we lost at Tottenham on the last day of the season. And we've not been back since. The closest we came to getting back was in the first season after relegation when Chris Hughton came in. And we had a 46-game championship season. We had a European campaign because, of course, we were in the Europa League.
Yes.
Because we'd won the League Cup. We got 10 points in that Europa League campaign and didn't qualify for the knockout stages. Somehow Braga and Bruges finished above us in the table.
Wow.
And we finished 4th in the championship with a squad of ragtag players, the unwanted, the unloved, free transfers, anything Chris Hughton could do, because the relegated squad was broken up and there was a fire sale going on from the old owners. That was as close as we came, finishing 4th and losing in the playoffs to Blackpool in the semi-finals. But since then, it's been mostly last day dramas to try and stay up, like at Bolton in 2014, where Paul Caddis scored with a header in literally the last minute of the game to keep us up on goal difference from Doncaster.
A couple of players I've got to mention that my dad told me about. I just want to know if they was sort of loved by Birmingham fans. Was it Gil Merrick and Bob Latchford?
Gil Merrick was our goalkeeper. Was goalkeeper in our last FA Cup final appearance in 1956 against Manchester City, the Bert Troutman final where Troutman broke his neck.
That's why I said it.
And yet we still couldn't put the ball past him. Gil went on to manage the club, and Birmingham City were the first team from these islands to play in European competition because the old Intercity Fairs Cup that was set up in the late 50s, we were the first team invited to participate. So it's a little bit of history. Gil was he was our manager as well as a great goalkeeper, fantastic goalkeeper. And Bob Latchford, funnily enough, by the time I started going down, I mentioned I went down in '74. My first game was February '74, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Latchford had already been sold at that point. He'd just been sold for what was a record transfer fee of about 350,000 to Everton, and of course he went on to score bundles of goals for them. But the holy trinity at the start of the '70s was Trevor Francis, Bob Latchford, and a guy called Bob Hatton, who was another really good striker, mustachioed striker.
That's it. Yeah.
What a front three we had! They complemented each other so well. Latchford was brave as a lion, brilliant in front of goal. Birmingham lad, Birmingham born and bred. And another one that we were desperately sorry to lose. The one silver lining to losing Latchford to Everton was we got Howard Kendall as part of the deal. And Howard Kendall was coming towards the end of his career, but he could still pick a pass and find a player from midfield. And funny that the understanding he subsequently struck up with Trevor Francis was really good. They really had an almost telepathic the way those two understood one another. But Latchford was one hell of a striker and went on to be just as brilliant for Everton as he had been for us.
Was Malcolm Page in that side?
Malcolm, somebody I got to know very well. Malcolm played in so many different positions. He was a Welsh international. He was pretty much, along with Trevor, he was pretty much our only international in those days in the early to mid 70s. Played a lot at centre half, played in midfield. We called him the Welsh Wizard. He could adapt to so many different positions, and a kinder, more gentle man you could not wish to meet. I was very privileged to work with Malcolm when I had a bit of time, when I worked at the club doing the PA announcements, and I had to go early and do things in the sponsors' lounges with ex-players, and Malcolm Page was one of those who came in. Funny, he used to play golf with my late father, and so we struck up a friendship. And just a lovely, lovely man, but one hell of a player. And you always need every squad needs its player that can play in 3 or 4 different positions. The Phil Neville, if you will, of a squad, and that's most definitely what Malcolm Page was. Totally underrated, but just a super fella.
Definitely worth a mention. I think Malcolm Page. Yeah.
So you said you've got the Brentford game next week.
That's right, Tuesday. Yeah.
And you're commentating. Yeah. Is there you got to be neutral, but is there a bit? There's got to be an element of when Birmingham score, you add that extra bit of neutral.
I hope not. I know what you mean though. But the funny thing is, when you've been in broadcasting and doing commentary for a while, and I've been doing it for 20 years plus now. Mm-hmm. Be it on it started out being slightly different because I started out on local radio in the Midlands, and I wasn't just commentating on Birmingham. It was Villa, Albion, Wolves, and Walsall. Mm-hmm. My first beat was actually covering Walsall back in the late 90s when they got into the Championship under Ray Graydon. Yeah. And your commentaries for a local radio station, as I'm sure you guys know, are much more partisan, much more pro the local team because you're broadcasting to that local audience, Uh-huh. When I moved to Talk Sport in 2004, I didn't originally start as a commentator. I was just a reporter, and I moved up to do commentaries. But you learnt as a reporter how to be more neutral because you would be sent to watch Birmingham as a reporter or Villa. And, and as a Blues fan, I'm supposed to hate the Villa. But you learn to be dispassionate very quickly and cut that stuff out. Mm-hmm. And be fair to those who are listening. So when I was doing that Sheffield Wednesday Birmingham commentary the other week, about a month ago it was now, up at Hillsborough, you're driving up and you're saying to yourself, not loads, but you just said, no, just remember who you're broadcasting to, because you're broadcasting to there'll be Birmingham fans listening, but there'll be Sheffield Wednesday fans listening too, and just neutral supporters who want to listen to a live game at 3:00 on a Saturday. Yeah. And the last thing that they need to hear is a commentator full of his own self-importance thinking that he needs to big up, the team he just so happens to support. And every commentator has got the team that they love. We've all had to do it. We've all had to commentate on the team that we love, and you just learn, honestly, to be that neutral voice because your audience deserves it. It's not about me; it's about the audience that's listening. And I'd be doing the radio station and the listeners the worst kind of disservice if I was to lapse. The only time, I'll admit this to you now, Kieran, and I was able to do this anyway, the only time the mask slipped was when Obafemi Martin scored the winner at Wembley against Arsenal.
I remember that.
It's still my favourite joke of all time, right? A Frenchman walks into a pole and Birmingham City win the League Cup. But what happened was I was on the gantry at Wembley opposite the tunnel. It's like the TV gantry, but TalkSport had got a position there. So alongside me, Sam Matterface was doing the commentary for TalkSport. Stan Collymore, Villa, was the pundit, right?
Yeah.
I've also got... I'm just there doing colour, just doing little incidental pieces into commentary. They just wanted my opinion as a Blues fan. So I could be completely one-eyed in that sense that day. Yeah. I'd got, just to my left, I'd got the head of live sport for TalkSport at the time, Villa fan, right? And then two of the production staff from TalkSport, Arsenal fans, sat just a little bit further along. Martin scores and I go absolutely ape. I go absolutely crazy. And the Blues fans are right behind us. It was the last section of Blues fans behind us in that stand. Of course, they're all going mental as well. And I'm just looking around me at Matt, our Villa fan, and the two Arsenal fans. They're all doing this. And oh God, got to deal with Dance now and all of his crap for 3 hours. He's going to be completely full of it. But Stan, I have to say, was top class that day because Stan also. There's another classic example of exactly what you're asking about, Kieran. Right? There's Stan, a Villa fan, supposed to hate the Blues.
Yeah,
right.
It wouldn't sound like it.
No, because he called the game as he saw it. It just happened to be a team playing in blue shirts and a team playing in red and white shirts.
Yeah.
And he would tell you the same if he was commentating on a Villa game. Yes, there were occasions where the mask slipped slightly with Stan too. He'll tell you that. I think a game at Chelsea where Villa came back for a 4-4 years ago. I think he had a getting me babbies. But you can because of the passion of the game and because of the situation, you can kind of understand where that comes from. But I try, honestly, whoever I'm commentating on, I'm trying to be not there are no favourites. It's just two teams who happen to be wearing two different colours. I'm doing Peterborough against Sunderland tomorrow. For TalkSport. So what a great game! Second against third.
Yeah.
But I'm going there, to call it as I see it, as a neutral. Yeah. And anyway, of course, my job's just to say what's happening, not why. Yeah. The why is down to my pundit next to me. And today it was David Connolly at Southampton. Tomorrow I've got Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, who plays for Sheffield United Women. She's my pundit. Tuesday I've got Sam Parkin working with me, who's a top EFL pundit. Yeah. So you work with different pundits all the time, and they've all got their skill set. But what they all do, their experience of the game, means that you defer to them to explain why things are happening. Yeah. My opinion is largely irrelevant. I'm just describing what's happening for the benefit of the audience. Courtney tomorrow will be picking out things that I haven't noticed that the listener needs to hear about, This is really important stuff. And the best pundits do that, particularly the best radio pundits, because you are, of course, painting
you can't
a picture.
See it. Yeah.
You're painting the picture for the listener. So the best pundits are the ones that I learn things from. And they're saying something as the ball's gone out for a corner or something. And you're thinking, I hadn't spotted that. Fair play. And that doesn't matter whether it's David Connolly or Perry Groves or Matt Holland or Courtney Sweetman-Kirk or Sam.
He's very good as well, Matt Holland. Very
Matt,
good.
Matt, I worked with Matt at the World Cup and the Euros, and we spent a lot of time together in Russia. And Matt is an amazing guy and a brilliant pundit, and just what a player he was as well.
Matty Holland, yeah.
But as a pundit,
top player.
spot on, and he gets the sense of occasion, but he's concentrating on the game. And some of my favourite games, my favourite game probably of all time, is Spain 3, Portugal 3. One of those first games.
Wow, what a game! What a game that was!
Ronaldo's hat trick and whatnot. And you're trying to keep your composure together because you're just watching the most incredible game of football. But I'm fortunate to have Matt alongside me, who knows how to sum these sorts of games up and put things across in a level-headed way, and not resort to cliche or resort to over the top stuff.
And that must be very hard to sort of not go to the, as you said, cliche, as not go to the standard line.
I read something on Twitter the other day about the lines that commentators use that I wish they'd stop saying that, and you're looking at it and you're going, yeah, I say that. Say that too. Oh God! I better stop saying that, because the replies keep coming back. People seem to have a problem with low block as a phrase. Or,
it's the new one, though, isn't it?
Yeah, has come in. Or transition. That's one they don't like. Or recycled. If the ball's recycled, they don't like recycled. Things like that. So I understand that. But you got to try and be sensitive to not. Just talking in cliches all the time, or talking in sort of gobbledygook but at the same time, you've got to have your own style. You've got to have to
have your own style. You have to stand out.
And my style has always been about, don't get stuck or bogged down in statistics. You do a lot of prep for a game, don't get me wrong, but 90% of what you've written down as preparation for a game, you do not use. Because you don't need to use it. Those stats are there just in case, if there's a long delay or something, if somebody's had a bad injury and you need to, talk about something else whilst the game's going on, then yes, maybe there's a point to it. But those things that you write down, what Charlie Wyke has for tea on Tuesdays, or whatever, like some stats guys will have, and honestly, broadcasters will provide you with stat packs as long as your arm. And you will practically know what the Sunderland left back has for tea on Tuesday. It's incredibly detailed.
How much prep do you put in?
A lot. I mean, I can show you. It's in the other room. I don't want to.
Sure.
You want me to go and grab it? I mean,
go grab it. It's a big book. Go on. No, we need to see this, because obviously I've seen previously people's like John Motson's, and John Motson would have a book like that thick that he's had from when he first started, and it's still got his notes from a story from here and there. And it's good to see.
Right. Okay. So what I've got, I mean, I don't know whether this is going to come across, but I've got a little W.H. Smith folder with jelly pages and whatnot. So this protects you from rain and wind, so it doesn't blow away in a gale. So let me see if I can show this to the camera. What I've got here. The lighting's not particularly good in here, but on this page here, that is all the other games that are going on tomorrow at the same time as my commentary. So it goes down from Championship to League One, League Two, and the National League. Okay. And so that's all the fixture names there, and all this detail here is just basic stuff about the situation for each game, because I'll have my iPad up with a little video printer on it. So for example, if Derby take the lead at Reading tomorrow, I'll look. I'm still commentating on the game, but I'll wait for a natural break in play, and then I can say, there's a goal in the Championship. Reading 0, Derby 1. Derby got their first win in 8 last time out, and they're 1-0 up through Lee Gregory or something. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah. I love that. I love it.
So it just means you're prepared. So that's that. But as the weeks go by, you get to. This takes a little less time each week, because the runs that teams are on, because it gets embedded in your brain. And that's why I write it down. I hate to be a Luddite, but I write it down because it helps commit it to memory. I know there's lots of commentators that use
I'm the same.
Printouts and things like that. That's fine. Each to his own. But for me, I prefer to write it down. Good man, you see.
I'm the same.
and then on this side here, this is where I've got my basic details for Peterborough Sunderland. That's you can't see it because of the light. But I've got the last lineups for their previous game, the form that they're in, all sorts of stats there. And then over the page, I've got individual team listings, pen picks, they call it, for Sunderland on this side, Peterborough on this side. So, you know, all the squads, names, just their ages, what their goal record's like. So that's just for one game that you put the hours in. So
you do. Yeah. And it pays off, though. It pays off.
Well, yeah. And as I say, 90% of that I won't use.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, just because you've written it down, it doesn't mean you have to use it. It's just there as a fail-safe. Yeah. But you've got important stats there that you can call upon if a certain player scores. You know, for tomorrow, you got 2 top goal scorers in League One going hammer and tongs. You got Johnson Clark-Harris and Charlie White, who you know, and Johnson Clark-Harris is the top goal scorer in League One. So those are the sort of things you should know about, you know, where certain players are at. If you don't know that, then I'm not doing my job. Because you've got to be informed. So you've got to put the hours of prepping, whether you're doing the commentary, or I also believe if I was just hosting the show, and somebody else is doing the commentary, I'd certainly do all the prep on the other games. I probably wouldn't do all the pen picks work on like the individual players, but I'd certainly do all the work on what other games were going on at the same time, without question.
Yeah.
But, as I say, it's each to his own. But I just thought I'd give you a little glimpse into my.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So, Ian, thank you very much for coming on today. It's been an absolute pleasure. From the Birmingham bit to the showing how you do your work at the end. Love that. So, yeah, we'd love to have you on again, man.
Oh, anytime, fellas. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, we're definitely love to have you on. All right, take care, Ian. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Cheers, Ian.
All right, bye.
Bye, mate.
All right, what a guest we've had there. We've had. I love that. As I said before, I remember watching John Motson and seeing him with his book. So I love that kind of thing. So yeah, and commentating is something I used to do as I was playing. I don't know about you lot, but when I was playing football, I used to do the commentary in the back garden, and people used to love it. People used to go, "Kids, you're not commentating." I'd be like, "All right, you boa," and they're like, when you score and someone's commentating, it adds that little bit of extra, even if it's in your front garden. You don't care.
The football cards. Remember the football cards you used to buy?
Yeah.
I got to a point where I had every single player for every single team. And what I used to do, I used to have 2 goes, the Sabutio goal, one net in, one net. And I used to have the cards. I used to make up the little ball. And he used to go, pass it to him. He goes down the wing and he goes across. And he crosses it in and he's in the middle and he's going to cross it. He's going to run it into the goal. I used to do it. Mum and Dad used to say, "What is he doing?"
That was computer games back in the days, kids. A garden, some Sabutio goals, and some player cards.
You before we were talking about Agüero's goal against QPR, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if in the stadium they had the Martin Tyler commentary happening?
Oh my word!
Could you imagine?
Oh my word! Oh my God!
The buzz of those fans.
I'm buzzing thinking about it. Like they should do that. They should have commentary. They should have, or you could have like one earpiece and you could have the commentator in one ear. That would be unreal. Could you imagine? Agüero!
Unbelievable. I've watched that Agüero goal about 20 times since I knew Kevin was coming on, because I was having a look for my favourite Agüero goal.
It doesn't matter what it is, because that will always be it. Because of the moment. Because when you talk about favourite goals, it's not just the goal; it's everything that surrounds it. It does. They don't. Your favourite goals or the best goals don't have to be the best goals. It's the moment. It's because if he scores that and City win 10-0, you're not even remembering it. But the fact that it was the goal that won the league, 3-2, last kick of the game, Agüero.
It was a fantastic first touch that took him away from the defender. He buried it, and
that sums him up.
And I had my head and my arms.
Yes,
just went
and it does. But it does.
Every single time.
But it does, Steve. It does when you haven't watched it in a while. It does. Yeah. It does, because it's that, and as a neutral, and it shows how much of an impact and what a goal that was. That as a neutral, that you have that feeling as well.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely love it. Love it.
Definitely though, Jerome. That was that. I can just imagine that.
Yeah, that'd be. Well, maybe if the FA are watching, teams are watching, maybe you should get a bit of commentary in the stands, add a bit more atmosphere to it. I mean, you get a couple of hundred fans in the stadiums at the moment, and there'd be an atmosphere. There'd be something. So just wait until the fans get back in. I don't think that's commentary. I don't think they need.
Not long, people. Not long.
Not long at all.
No.
All right. Before we get the guys back on, we are going to go for a transfer roundup. There's not even that too much this week. There's a few bits. We've got a few bits. We've got a bit from Steve. We've got a bit from just the general news. But first of all, we're going to go to Jerome. Jerome, you've been looking at the Youth FA Cup. You watched a few games this week. Are there any stars in the making? A few players you may have picked out that took your eye?
Yeah, there are a few. So there's we'll start with West Ham. So West Ham played Norwich. A lot of these FA Cup youth games actually took place at like the main stadiums. So
Norwich.
So Norwich played West Ham, and that took place at Carrow Road. And West Ham beat Norwich 5-0. And although they won 5-0, West Ham, Norwich had like plenty of chances. Anyway, the guy that stands out, or that stood out for me when I watched the game, was West Ham striker called Adamipo Odubeko. Now, I believe we've mentioned him before. This is the guy that they signed from Man United.
Yes, Rosham was speaking about him. He's got very high hopes for him.
Yeah, so he's already made a couple of appearances in the first team there, but in this game he scored a couple of goals, hit the post, had a hand in one of the other goals. A really real big physical presence up front. Very unselfish, brilliant hold-up play. He was like the standout guy for that game.
Yeah.
And it's weird because he's played in the first team, and yet he's playing he's eligible to play in the Youth Cup.
He must be bullying them in that level though. He must be bullying them at that level though.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, he probably wasn't even trying in this game, but managed to have a hand in 3 goals.
Yeah.
So that's
different.
That's one of them. Now the next player is a guy for Aston Villa. So Villa played Brighton at Villa Park. Villa won 3-0, and Villa's captain on the day is a guy called Jacob Ramsey.
Oh yes, they've just signed him up on a new deal, haven't they?
They have, yeah. He signed a new long-term contract in Feb. So central midfielder, so they won 3-0. He scored their second and third goals. He actually spent a bit of last season on loan at Doncaster. This Jacob Ramsey, and he just looks like he can create something from nothing. Yeah. Jacob Ramsey. Is
he the real deal? Because there's a lot of talk about him. There was even a few links to a couple of other clubs. Is he got real potential to be a first team player?
I think potential is the word. I believe when I looked at how he got on at Doncaster, I think he scored 3 goals in 7 games there.
That says a lot.
And if they've just signed him up to a new long-term contract, then they obviously must rate him, because you wouldn't sign someone up to a long-term contract if you weren't sure. So that's him, 19-year-old. Then one of the other games that I watched is a guy that we already know about, that plays for Arsenal. So Arsenal played Blackburn and they beat them 4-1. And for me, the main guy there was Miguel Aziz, the central midfielder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, people have probably seen his goal. He made it 3-0, and the strike that he scored with, it's pretty much identical to El Nene's against Dundalk in Ireland in the Europa League. Also, back in the day, Flamini scored one at the Emirates against Newcastle, where he just fly and it went right into the top right hand corner. Very, very similar goal. And for Arsenal's second goal, he picked up the ball in midfield and initiated the move with like a turn that sort of took out 2 players at once.
It's
he's starting to get a bit like not too good for that level because he's still got a lot to learn. I think just to step it up, he'll have to learn how his lack of pace is going to translate into the men's game because he would have to be very intelligent about that, which he's that kind of player. But he's started to become a real week in, week out standout player in that under-23s, isn't he?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the next step is now to play with men, and that is the next step. That is the next part of his progression.
Yeah,
because he can play against youth teams.
Yeah,
he's comfortable with that. But if you want to make it as a pro footballer, sooner or later you got to play against men's teams. So hopefully next season he'll play against some men.
I think we'll probably see him in the pre-season friendlies. Hopefully,
I think
that will be the sort of start of his little career off. You say he needs to play with men. See what he's like.
You're one of your favourites, Kiddo Taylor Wright, scored an absolute worldie in that game as well, didn't he?
That's it. So he scored that goal. That he scored the second goal, which Miguel Aziz sort of started the move for. He sort of picked up a loose ball on the edge of the box and just smashed it into the top of the net. Another one that needs to step up, I think, and play. Maybe go out on loan or So I think they're because playing against. With no disrespect, playing against some of these youth teams isn't going to help their development now. It's the next step, isn't it? Yeah.
It's playing men's football, getting out on a loan, maybe a Championship League One team, and getting 20, 30 games in that season. Thanks for that, Jerome. We're going to keep an eye on the FA Cup, FA Youth Cup games coming up. There's some fixtures coming up in a week or two. Any standout games in that you're looking forward to watching, Jerome?
I'm not too sure yet, to be honest. I'll have to get me head on the in the fixture list later and have a little look.
I think there's Aston Villa have got Burton, West Ham have got Arsenal. That should be a good game. Tottenham, West Brom, Liverpool, Leicester.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, Liverpool, Leicester should be a really good game. Chelsea, Everton. And Sheffield United have a few players in their team that are really good. So we're going to keep an eye on the Youth FA Cup. Any questions you got for Jerome? If there's any players you wanting to look at, again, as always, give us a shout out and give you his
what it shows? I'll tell you what it shows with some of these players that are playing in it. It shows that these teams take it really seriously. Do you know what I mean? They bring in the top players that they're allowed to play at that level, and they play them.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because they could quite easily get away with having the second-year graduates or something like that, but they're bringing in Miguel Aziz, who's training with the first team, Taylor Hart, who's training with the first team. They're not. They want to win it, which is good. It's competitive, and these players, these kids haven't had games. They've missed a lot of game time, so this is massively going to help. All right, we are joined back by Nathan. He's not smiling. What was the score?
2-1.
Did you win? What was? Is that why Richie's not back? Because he's like nah.
I'm not going to say, but just before Nathan goes on, Solskjaer does it every single time. When they left us at half time, I thought he'll go in there. He does it all the time. He goes in there, gets them sorted. They come back, they win. Does it all the time.
What difference? What difference was the second half? What was the changes?
There's no changes until after we got a goal, but it's looking like it was just not going to do anything. We opened up a little bit. We started playing a bit quicker. Then they made a mistake. Bruno pounced on it. Rashford's on, and then he waits, slides him in, and then Rashford just slots it bottom right. That was lovely. It's a great finish, but it just came from a mistake. But that's what most goals do come from anyway. So I was happy that we got the goal back. I always knew Brighton were never going to stay that tight for 90 minutes. There's always going to be some kind of opening. We just have to take it. So we did. And then we're playing again and not much really happening. And then all of a sudden you get Greenwood gets the goal. There's a little bit of a... I think, you know what? I'm going to tell you now. I believe Welbeck should have had a penalty. I bet you he says that as well. Welbeck should have had a penalty when it was 1-1 at the time. They would have been 2-1, but they said, no, Maguire's not a penalty. Definitely a penalty. Welbeck would have tapped that in. He would have tapped that in, and Welbeck and Maguire's just taken it, like, stopped, like, obviously tripped him up from actually kicking the ball. Yeah. And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, it's a pen. Bloody hell, we're going to lose. Yeah, but they said no. So I was like, oh, my gosh. So that was good. So, yeah, I can't even remember how the Greenwood goal went in. I think Dan James came on for Rashford. He looks like he's picked up another injury as well. Pogba then came off after. Actually, was that? Yeah, so Pogba, that was what happened. The ball came over to Pogba on the right side, and he's gone to volley it, but he's totally miscued it right back into the middle of the pitch, and Greenwood's on it.
Oh, wow.
Just, like, gone through the defenders and keepers. So, yeah. It was a lucky goal, but then he comes off as well, and Van der Beek comes on up front for Cavani. McTominay comes on for Pogba, and Rashford comes off limping. He's like walking in the way where you think, oh, something's wrong with him now again. But he took his goal well. So in the end, we get our points, but it's a game where it's another one of them things, and it's like workman-like season. Like it's just for the points and stuff. It's not for the fans to watch this. It's really boring. To be honest, yeah, I don't like this.
But you got your 3 points, and that is what is important right now. You're cementing that second spot in the league. You got points on Leicester when they dropped points yesterday. Yeah, so that's what's important. That's what's important. And then you got Europa League next against Granada, and you got a couple of tough fixtures. So.
Let's hope we play good though at some point, because that's what football's about. It's about watching and getting entertained. It's not about just winning and like scoring, scoring a goal from a scrappy goal and holding on to win. We're not got Mourinho anymore. We need to start playing good football and enjoying watching the game. There's no point. I might as well just look for the score at the end. I might as well look at Channel Manager where you can just see the 2 names and the goal at the end. That's better. I might as well do that.
Just the flashing. Goal.
Yeah, shot. Did you see
it? We're showing our age. These kids don't know about that. They don't know about that flashing bar. Goal. Taking it back.
Oh, he misses.
Yeah. Oh, we'll have to have an online game once. I'm sure we could do that on Twitch or something.
Yeah, all day.
FIFA. Nah. I don't play FIFA. I'm a pro man. A real football game, not that arcade game you play. Set move down the byline, cut back. Cut back cheat. The non-cheat cheat. We don't play that game in pro. You can shoot from anywhere in pro. Don't get me onto a pro FIFA argument. Right?
I was a pro guy from day one, and then
they messed it up. They messed it up. I don't know what it is.
What's the point going back?
Yeah, no, I didn't go. I just stopped. I had a sabbatical. I turned into a monk. That's what I did.
I couldn't leave football.
That's what I did. I just left it. I left it, and I got back into it this year. And I'm so glad that I didn't go to the dark side, because I've seen people go over there and they stayed there.
You do know that the pro guys actually went over there. The pro guys that made it went over there.
But they still can't bring pro to FIFA. They still can't do it. They still can't do it properly. You had to switch it on. You had to do a special switch on to play like a pro. That's what you have to do. Or you can just standard default mode is what you lot are playing. So anyway, we'll move on from that. Yeah, because this is about a transfer exchange, and now it's a transfer roundup. Are you with us still, Nathan? Or all right? Transfer roundup.
You can't go nowhere now.
All right. All right. It's the time for the transfer roundup. Aston Villa are interested in Bournemouth's youngster Arji Birchall. Jerome spoke about him before. Looks like a really good player. Just started getting some game time for Bournemouth this season. Looks like he's going to be a player that is going to be touted after in the summer. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. According to the Football Insider, Everton are planning to sell their Colombian centre-back Yerry Mina to sign Koulibaly. Wow. Times have changed from when he was touted in the summer for Manchester City, and now Everton are being linked with him. Just before we go on, we got Richie Mills in the room. Richie, you said it before half time that Brighton have got the second but best. It's not really a best record. That's why you changed it to worst. Of conceding in the second half and losing leads, and they did it. Nathan came on, bluffed us, came on with an angry face, I would say, like he'd lost, and then he told me he'd won. So how are you feeling now?
Yes, disappointed for the lads, but yeah, it's just I think the things that they did well in the first half they couldn't really do, but a lot of that was down to Man U. They were just a much better team than they were in the first half. I still think Brighton didn't they maybe let Man U come onto them a bit. They're defending for, especially I think the second goal, there was a bit open. I think there were two people queuing up to score that when Greenwood headed home and Shaw was also there. So I think in terms of game management, it could have been better from Brighton. But this is a very good Manchester United side, and I really don't think there's much shame in that. And I think Graham Potter will definitely take positives out of the game because there's a lot to be encouraged by. And on that form, I definitely think that they can stay in the division.
Yeah. You got a 6-point lead on 18th, but you've got a few tough games coming up. I mean, for Brighton, there's a lot of tough games in the league, but you've got Chelsea, Everton, Leeds, Wolves, West Ham are still in good form and trying to get that European spot. Then Manchester City and Arsenal in the last game of the season. You said you could stay up, but just as I was reading that, I was starting to sweat. But that's a tough run.
Relegation battle on the last day.
But the 6 points that you've managed to get in, it could stand you in good stead.
That could be the saving grace.
Yeah, I mean, so Brighton actually do tend to do better against teams above them in the table. They beat Leeds earlier in the season. They drew with West Ham and Wolves. So I think there's definitely enough points on the board that they can get. Like you said, they are some very tough games. I think they've got the second toughest run of the kind of relegation teams. But I just think on this form, there's still definitely enough to show that they're a good self. I think Newcastle at times can be okay. It'll be interesting to see if they can get Wilson and say Maximan firing again. But I just think Brighton have enough quality, and I think there are enough games for them to get points on the board. Against Leeds, for example, I think their style of play suits them when Leeds just go all guns blazing attack. I think Brighton are able to pick them off. So I still am optimistic about the chances of staying in the division.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the clubs around you as well, Fulham, they tend to struggle to score goals. Newcastle are missing Callum Wilson. Burnley are just not Burnley. It doesn't seem like the regimental, disciplined Burnley. They're not that anymore. So, as you're saying, it could be a season where you do stay up with the fixtures you've got left. Even. Thank you very much for joining us today, Richie. Anytime you've got a game on, as we said to Roshan, it looks extra special when you've got the Old Trafford in the background, or any club. I'm not just saying it's Old Trafford, any club. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Well, just one quick thing, actually. So just before I got here, I walked past Sir Alex Ferguson. I got the thumbs up for him, so I was absolutely buzzing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got something like, wee. So so it's, he's a legend. So and I was just like, so yeah, not very professional, but yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and take care.
Take care, Richie.
See you soon, mate.
Thank you. All right, what a story there from Richie. Got to see Alex Ferguson, and I mean, sometimes professionalism kind of goes out the window when you see someone like that.
He lives in my area, actually. I see him
is it?
quite a bit. Yeah, he's always so much. Where is it now? Pizza Express last time for lunch. He was there having lunch when I was driving past, going to Sainsbury's. He was just there sitting outside. Okay.
Big time.
He did.
This is my area. Hey. All right. I love it. Sources telling us that Arsenal are looking at Real Betis midfielder Guido Rodriguez. The likelihood of him leaving is to be very slim after only playing. Adds to the fact that the Spanish international would be a 75 million fee that they're looking for. Wow, it's a lot of money. Liverpool could muscle in on Barcelona's pursuit of Netherlands and Lyon midfielder Memphis Depay in the summer. That's from Marca. Arsenal midfielder Lucas Torreira is on loan at Atletico Madrid. Says he wants to return to South America following the passing of his mum. With Argentinian side Boca Juniors looking to fulfill the promise made by his father. Olympiacos considering a move for Arsenal winger Reece Nelson. I mean, I think he needs to get some game time. It's no good sitting on the Arsenal bench week in, week out, and looking good in training. It's not going to get anywhere like that. Everton fullback Thierry Small is willing to turn down a 3-year professional deal to pursue the opportunities elsewhere. Potentially Manchester United, Arsenal, Brighton and Brentford are among the other teams interested in him. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is looking like he's going to be leaving Arsenal at the end of the season, with West Bromwich Albion not really interested in the player. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He's not done anything.
Not even wanted by West Brom. Is it England?
I know. Not even wanted by West Brom.
He's not.
It does show. It does show that I think, I mean, as an Arsenal fan myself, you hear a lot of talk about how good these players are when they're not playing. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles is not a bad player. He's a very good, versatile player to have in the squad. But is he a week in, week out starter, game changer? He's not. So, and I think it's coming to show when he's got to do that at a club and be consistent. And it's a massive show of character if you're going to be able to do that at a team that's looking like they could get relegated as well. Our man James Rowe gave us a bit of transfer news yesterday. AZ Alkmaar's Cooperman's is being linked with a move to Roma. I think we should have some more news on that soon from James. Cooperman's is a player, I don't know if many people know, he's a set piece specialist. He's one of those players that he'll get this move and it will be, he will stand out. I think he's a very good technical player. He's one of those players at AZ Alkmaar that kind of gets overlooked with Kelvin Stengs and Maran Badu, who usually get the plaudits. But the captain there, Coopermans, is a very good player, and I think you'll see that if he does make the move in the summer. Manchester City are interested in Groningen Swedish left back Gabriel Gudmundsson. Jerome, you had a little look in. What's he saying?
Yeah, 21-year-old left back. So he's a Swedish youth international, and he plays for a team called Groningen in Holland. He is absolutely rapid. Super attacking fullback, a little bit like Jordi Alba in his style, and he racks up the assists as well. But yes, looks decent, to be fair.
Looks decent. And I think Arjen Robben went back to Groningen this season, so he's probably had a few hits and tips how to get down that wing. Steve, you've got a bit of transfer news on, is it City? Is it?
Yeah, well, I've got some Haaland thing, but I'll tell you that a bit later. There's been some news going about that Ian Danter is on his way to Real Madrid. Quite a few media outlets have been reporting it. I won't say who they are, but he's not going to Real Madrid. He'll be going nowhere near Real Madrid. He's the son of, as people will know, Rory Delap, the throw-on assist king. you know, as people may remember. But he will be. He actually played his first game for England in the under-18s against Wales last week. But to cut it down to shortly with Liam, Pepper said that he's not going nowhere. Next season, he will be at Manchester City and he will be in the first team, and he will be hoping that he will be getting plenty of games for Man City in the future.
Just a second. So, Jerome, you had a little look at him. How far do you think he is off the first team? Because I think he had a game in the FA Cup. I think he played against, was it Cheltenham he played against, was it?
He played,
started.
He played in the EFL Cup. He scored on his debut. Quality goal, actually. Really quality goal. For the under 23s, he's got he's better than a goal a game, basically. And as Steve said, Pep said this guy's like a quality finisher. He's only 18, but I'll tell you what, he's technically so secure. He looks quality, but he's just so young still. But loads of potential it seems he's got.
All right, thanks for that, Jerome. Go on, Steve.
Yeah, well, I've got some Agüero news and also some Lacazette news, but what I'm going to do, just want to tell you now. This week, as most people know, Mino Raiola and Erling Haaland's father turned up at Real Madrid, and the footballing world lost its minds, and there was all types of things being said on where he was going and what he was doing. So just like the Martin Odegaard that we did last week, I just want to here's the facts.
He wants to play with him,
so that people want to know. Is it possible that Haaland, can go to Barcelona? Well, we thought that Man City were the favourites to get his signature, but the fact is that Raiola can't stand Guardiola, so that there could be a problem there. Manchester United can afford his wages, but not his signing on fee. But Man United have got plenty of money, but
how much is his sign-on fee?
You mean the fee to buy him?
Yeah, you're talking 150, 30 million is what they're asking.
Yeah, not sign-on fee. The sign-on fee is what the player gets. You're talking
Transfer fee. Sorry, the transfer fee. Yeah, sorry. And then when you go on to PSG, they've got other targets. They're looking at Harry Kane. So from that, that's getting a little bit more clearer. But Barcelona and Real Madrid are possible, but Real Madrid, they want Mbappe. Right?
They really do want Mbappe, don't they? Yeah.
They really want Mbappe.
Yeah.
They haven't got the money to pay Mbappe and Haaland. So people just work that out. They haven't got 250 million. They're going to struggle to get that. Laporte, he really wants to sign Haaland. He wants him big time because he wants to signify to Messi that he means business, and bringing in a massive player like Haaland will, get Messi to stay, because Messi needs something like that.
Yeah, he needs to show. He needs them to show that it's not just going to be on his shoulders to get him back to the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they need young players around him now.
Yeah,
and Haaland would be a perfect point.
So the Barcelona thing, when you look at it like that, you can see. But what you're going to say is, where have they got the money? I'll come to that. As far as the news from Germany, Michael Zorc has already said he won't be selling Haaland and Sancho this summer. Right? He won't be selling them. Right? Now, when he said won't be selling them, he said he won't be selling them both. So make of that what you will by those words.
All right.
Sancho is the one that's more likely to leave, not Haaland.
Yes, which means that if that's the case, then Haaland's going on his minimum release clause next season, which is half of what they want for him now.
this is what we're coming to. Because what this will do, this will give more clubs to start a bidding war in 2022 when his release clause kicks in. So it's all coming. If you're listening and writing this down, people who are watching, right? It's as you say, it coming together. They want a bidding war. They want the clubs next season who by then will all have more money to go and bid, because they obviously want the most money for Erling Haaland at the moment. There's not that many clubs who can take him now.
A bit like Sancho in the summer. There was only one club that could afford him.
Yeah. Bayern Munich are out of the question, right?
Yeah.
They can afford him as well, but they're not. They would never sell to never sell to Bayern Munich. Again.
But, well, no.
You know.
Again.
No.
They've done it a million times.
Mario Götze,
Why wouldn't
Lewandowski, Hummels.
Yeah, Hummels. Yeah, quite a few of them, no?
Yeah, there's loads of them.
Yeah, I'm thinking a Lewandowski replacement is all day Haaland.
That would absolutely rip the hearts out.
He would probably go straight there and go, I'm winning everything next year and a year after and year after and year after.
It'd make you sick as a Dortmund fan. Yeah,
just go and reinforce their back line with a young guy that's going to be there next 10 years. Now, if they reinforce with Haaland, that's a clean replacement for Lewandowski when he's old.
Yeah,
so that's unbelievable if they can do that. I can see that happening. To be fair, next year.
Exactly next year, because that's when his release clause are kicking.
That's when the release when the release clause comes in. It's hunting season.
But more
everyone will be talking.
I think people will have more money then.
Yeah.
You know,
so it'll be about his wages.
The clubs who haven't got money now, Dortmund ain't going to sell him now when there's only one club that can make a bid for him.
Yeah.
You know, they want to have 5 clubs bidding for him. I mean, that does it just wouldn't make it just wouldn't make sense. If we just quickly go back to Barcelona, I've been speaking to my man in Barcelona this week. They will have plenty of money soon. When this 2022 release call clicks in, they've got this back sponsor who's going to be putting in a 250 million to deposit into the club. That's happening in 2022. So
they got sorted out the FFP, didn't they? And suddenly, all of a sudden, Barcelona get a back sponsor worth 200 million. That's a bit sus.
Now this is like. This is related. What this 250 million is supposed to be related. It's related to the stadium redevelopment. Yeah. That's what this 250 million is before. But a lot of that now is going to be put into the transfers. And what Laporta is going to do is going to be going to the banks to get the money for the stadiums. Yeah, because he's got some good contacts here, Laporta. I mean, they've got the top president to do the stuff to get the money. So he will go there, get the money for the stadiums, use the 250 million to buy players. And what they're doing, they're talking now with the banks, right now to ring fence the debt that would be made and move it to more manageable terms. So
they're trying to sort out their money, but are they sorting out their money long term? Because I know what they don't need to do is just gather it all together, move it aside, and then so they can't see it, and it's still sitting there, like because this is the problem that they've been in, and it's why it keeps carrying on and snowballing because it catches up. Because now they will invest and they get Haaland and whatnot, and then next season they want someone else who's doing well, and then someone else who's doing well, and then that someone else costs them 100 mil. And then they get back into the same state they were in previously, and they're still trying to pay for a player 4 years down the line. They owe 100 mil. It's nonsense. They can't carry on like this.
So from that, you work out the clubs in 2022 who are going to be there or thereabouts. Barcelona.
It'll be the same as thing you want it. I think it'll be the same as the Upamecano, where everyone's talking about, he's linked to Upamecano's linked to United, he's linked to this, he's linked to that. Bayern and bought him.
Shock. Don't do it. Don't do it. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see Haaland at Bayern Munich. They don't. They don't want to see it.
Happen, isn't it? It's gonna happen. If I was to bet right now, if that would be my odds-on favourite next year, he's there.
Yeah.
All day.
Where?
To see
I hope he ain't at Bayern.
Bayern Munich.
I hope he don't go Bayern.
Of all the clubs to go to, I think that would be the club. You know.
I mean, I saw a mock-up of him in his Barcelona.
Always monopolising the country. They just take anyone who does well. We're having you. We're having you.
One thing that came to just my mind when I was getting told this, which Jerome's going to get exactly what I'm saying when I say this. Yeah, as far as Haaland goes. To get that one season to play with Lionel Messi.
Oh, what, Haaland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
another poll. Is that a poll? Because I know I'm not.
Of course, it would be a poll.
Jerome was the one who brought it up with who was it?
I don't think so. No.
Who was it? I forget what player it was, but Jerome brought it up once. With,
it's definitely a poll.
Enough. You got to think of your whole career when you're doing that, and. You go there, but then he's gone. Then it's a whole rebuild anyway. Like when he's gone, Barca are no longer Barca. There's nothing. They're nothing like Barca with him not there. So
do you not want to be the new? Okay, this is. Yeah. I'm talking to Nathan Ellington. Is in this situation. Do you not want to be the face of the rebuild for Barca?
That means you've got to be willing to sacrifice years of not really killing it, not winning leagues, not going far.
This is Barcelona. There's only really 3 teams in that league.
Yeah, and you got Bayern, who are gonna win the league, who are gonna win the Champions League more often than not. Gonna be the main man after Lewandowski, and you're gonna get supply all your life, and you're never gonna feel like you're never gonna feel like you're in some kind of rebuild that you're gonna struggle with. You're just going to get the most money possible, stay in the same country, and absolutely kill winning leagues and trophies and everything, top scorers, everything. I got more chance of winning the top scorer and getting the Ballon d'Or even, playing for Bayern, knowing that their whole squad is amazing, and I'm going to absolutely kill the league every year. I'm going Bayern.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
I think just absolutely ruined it.
I think the ideal scenario for Haaland is Bayern buy him, but next season loan him to Barca so he can play a year in this.
Exactly, that would be perfect. Because Lewandowski's got one more year left. So come back once he's retired.
Well, while we're talking sort of Barcelona, just I might as well get this one out of the way, and then I've got the Lacazette after. Agüero is another player that's wanted by Barcelona. And it goes back again. The Porte wants a striker that's going to make Messi stay and be happy, and that's where I got the Haaland from. And again, Messi's his mate. It was the thing about the City going there, but now it looks probably more like that Agüero going to Barcelona would be more feasible to happen. And the Porte, I've been told, does want Messi. Staying with Agüero, I mean, he could return to Atletico Madrid. PSG could look at him as an alternative to Messi or Ronaldo if they come available. Inter or another possible as a short term one. That's it. If Martinez leaves,
to go to Barcelona.
If Martinez leaves to go to probably maybe City now. There could be an opening. There could be an opening at Inter for Agüero to go there, and then you could get some sort of deal going. I don't know, and with one going one way and one going the other way, because we all know that months ago we brought to people's attention that Martinez and City seemed to be the one where he was going to go, and then it went away because we heard that Martinez was going to sign a new contract. And now, like we've said, we've heard recently that now Martinez is been having had fleeting talks with City again. So that's more than possible, isn't it?
it looked more to me that it would go Barca or something like that. I just feel if he's going to go Barca or back to Argentina, it looks like that's kind of the possible places for him. I can't see him going to Italy and playing now like in that league.
I think Sergio Agüero would be best suited in Spain. I think he'd still be able to smash in goals in Spain. I think he'd still score goals in England. It's just it's just his injuries. He's at that stage in his career where it's just an injury just takes so long for him to recover, and I just think you're going to pick up more in the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that.
He scores goals for fun.
Yeah, I've got one last bit of transfer news. I might as well get my last bit out of the way. Arteta and Edo, as I think everybody knows, that they're going to be talking to Alexander Lacazette at the end of the season, and nothing's really going to be, sorted out, or you know, whether he's going or if he's staying before the end until after the season.
Is there a difference in opinions? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, there is. The Arteta wants one thing to happen, and Edu wants something else. I mean, Edu wants to move him on. Arteta wants to keep him. But what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to do a compromise, and that includes with a player as well. And that would be one of the things would be for Lacazette would have to 100% take a cut in his wages for him to stay on. And I think that's going to be the main decision that Lacazette will have to make. You can stay, but you can't stay at 180 grand.
No, look, for me, I just think we've got to move on now. Like, you have to move on. I can't keep doing this. Yeah, and this is not a Lacazette thing, because I think Lacazette's a good player. Yeah, but I can't go another season. Yeah, where from September to January to December, Lacazette scores 2 or 3 goals and works hard. I can't do that. And it's just the same thing again. I can't watch another interview with Lacazette turn around. And this is not just Lacazette. This is players in and around the Arsenal squad. I can't watch another interview with Lacazette turn around and say, we didn't respect what the manager said before the game. What sort of nonsense is that? How are you coming out on TV and saying you didn't listen to the manager's instructions before the game, and then at half-time, you turn over the team? Like, when Arsenal listen to the manager's instructions, when they do what he says, yeah, they do well. When they come out and say, well, we didn't take in what was said, you can see what happens. It's a mess. It's all over the place. And yesterday's game against Liverpool was embarrassing. It was horrible to watch. Like, you should be no players going out there and putting in the kind of performance they did yesterday. That was slapdash. That was, I'm thinking about the game on Wednesday. And I know you can say there's an element of no one goes out and thinks, I'm thinking of Wednesday. But it's a mental thing. It's subconscious. It's not in the forefront of your mind that this is Liverpool. We've got a game and we're not going to put it in, because you don't not put it in. But it's a subconscious thing. That they were not in that game yesterday at any point. Oh! This team, they're going to be the end of me. They are.
With you guys, you're kind of similar to us in a way where I can't see any fluidity in the way you guys play with the players that you have in your team. It's like you have some good players, obviously, and there's some good bright sparks when you see the game being played, but it's like you don't know what to expect from them. Like, I can't see where their outlets are, and like, it's weird. It's like before, Aubameyang used to continually keep getting in because they used to always find him. It's now, it's like you never see him getting in. You never see Pepe running down the wide, getting it, and taking someone on, putting it in. It's like, it's weird. It's just very weird. It's like United today.
It was bad.
But like you said with Lacazette, Pepe, we can't keep going yeah, you was good for 2 games. You played well. You're brilliant. And then the next week, oh, you're useless. And then you're useless. All right, you could have 5 games and be useless or have a bad game or don't play well. You know, but it's continuous. You know, it's but Aubameyang now is becoming continuous. Lacazette is becoming continuous. You know, Pepe every week is continuous. Williams disappeared now off the face of the planet again. There's no leader on that pitch. None. There's no leader at all who can grab them and say, "Oi, what you doing?" No one seems to care.
I know Lacazette, you say that, yeah. But for me, when I watch him, he looks quite lively. He looks good, but I can't see any supply into him.
No, there's not, but there's not. But then he's not suited to our style of play. We're not playing to his strengths. But that's been the case for 4 years now, and we can't. If we're not going to change our way to suit him, then he's not got to be a part of the team. We've got to move on. Then
who goes up top? Then who is actually up there in that place that actually will suit that way of playing? Because at the moment, you don't cross balls and you don't set people up through balls.
There's nobody.
So Aubameyang's no longer getting the same thing.
No.
As well.
I think we need a player of the not a Giroud, but a player who can do that. A Lukaku, a weapon. I think we need a beast, a bully, and then you have Lukaku 2 players that can play off him. Yeah. I think that's what we need. But because it does seem
something like that.
For me, I don't know whether he can do it in the Prem. So for me, I can't say an Ivan Toney, but I can say a Lukaku can do it in the Prem. And it does seem that Arteta wants to cross the ball in the box, and I don't mind the balls going into the box as long as the balls are played to the players' feet or the balls are getting on the players' heads. But they're not. These long balls, these long diags that we were doing yesterday, awful. I see that on Saturday League. Oh yeah, get it to the winger, just belt it in the corner. Here, hold it up and cross it in. We might be able to get a corner from it and put them under pressure. That is awful. This is Arsenal. We can't be playing like that. I saw that when we were playing against Stoke.
It all goes on the engine room. I mean, that was embarrassing yesterday. That midfield, absolutely embarrassing. You know, you had Thiago he come off without sweat. You know, he just run it. And it was just like I was watching the game, and he had every time he got the ball. All right, good players always find space, you know. So
but this is the same Thiago, which people have been saying has not been all that ain't suited to Liverpool. He looked like a magician. He looked like a magician.
You know, and then the midfield there was just like. You know, nothing.
But it was all over the pitch. It was all over the pitch. We're a mess. All over. People will talk about how Kieran looked all right before he came. He was no good either. He was sitting too deep. He weren't on it. It was just bad. It was just bad all over. Everywhere was bad. I kind of felt sorry for Aubameyang, but then again, I've seen Aubameyang not do anything in a lot of games this season.
Is it him?
I don't know. That people will turn around and say he scored a hat trick for Gabon. I'm sorry, that's against Dominican Republic. Like we're not going. We're not. It's different.
It's different. So hard. It's so hard because I know exactly what it's like from the other side. You know, playing at all these different clubs and getting chances and not getting chances because of the players around you makes a massive difference. You know, like. It's so hard to say, but I was scoring goals for fun everywhere I went. I go to Watford and we weren't playing nothing that was anything towards the way I like to play. And everyone said I was rubbish. I was not working hard, didn't try. I was the same player. The exact same player. But what happened is I didn't have the same players around me. Even when I was at Wigan, I scored quite a few goals, but I didn't score as many goals as I would have loved to until Jason Roberts came. And the thing is, I was very frustrated at times, many times when I was thinking, man, I can't wait till I get, a player that's just going to be a great player to play with. Then when Jason comes, I got really excited because I'm like, wow, I've now got a player in the midfield. I've got a striker with me. I've got my winger who's going to rip down the wing and get me balls in. When I left there, I went to West Brom I'm telling you, I didn't get no balls in behind the defense ever. Didn't score one goal from a cross, like going behind the defense, and I wasn't even known as a header anymore.
Yeah,
and that's all because of players, the different types of players that don't suit my strengths as much. If you get what I mean. So when you look at Lacazette, I'm like, he's a good player, man. You look at Ozil,
he is a good player.
Everybody, it's a manager who can get the right players to mesh together in the right positions and then play the football. That's why I really look up to Leicester's manager,
Rodgers.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers. Yeah. He knows what players to put in his side and what's going to do the actual job that he wants. He doesn't care about names.
No, he went out and bought Iosi Perez.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
United, look at us. We've got players everywhere. Why have we got strikers in winger position, wingers in striker position? You got players who can't cross the ball, so when they get up there, they can't do what you want them to do. We want all of that, but you haven't got the player for it. So this is what a good manager is and what a not good manager is. How many of them are there? Pep does that job. Look what he's done. Players are old and he's replaced them with great players. Now they're back to being beasts again. And
that's the thing. It's recruitment. Recruitment is so important. It's so important.
With Arsenal at the moment, I think Arsenal fans, are looking for heroes, and some of our players aren't as good as what people think they are, and because although we think Emil Smith-Rowe is going to be a good player, he ain't ready yet. Bakasakia, he does great, but he ain't ready yet. They're not ready.
But is it not a worry?
So
two of them are out.
But when you put Lacazette in, right, he's not the player he was at Lyon. He's not the player who scores 30 goals a season. And when you've got that, he works hard. But then you've got Aubameyang, who is our Sergio Agüero, if you like, our Harry Kane. And when he's not doing it, who else is going to? Who else is going to score you goals? Where's the goals going to come from? If Aubameyang's not scoring, right, who's going to score? Who's going to score Arsenal's goals? You've got to score goals to win matches.
Well, he hasn't been scoring, he hasn't been scoring. He hasn't been scoring.
Have they got? How many chances did they get yesterday in the game? Did anyone get any chances that they missed?
None.
You were like, oh my god.
None. That's what I mean. It was horrible.
What did I see? I saw a stat. Aubameyang this season against Liverpool has not had one shot on goal, home and away.
Yeah. This is it all.
If you're not getting slotted in with that amount of pace, you need to get slotted in. That's his game. You got to play towards his way of playing. You guys are not utilizing his strengths, and that's the problem. It's not him. He's not no good anymore. He's not gone rubbish. Aubameyang's not rubbish.
No,
he's the same. He's the same player. I might have got a little tiny bit slower this year. Might have, but that's it. His finishing still top notch. Still top player. But
he ain't getting chances.
Yeah, they're not doing the right things.
Arsenal need a massive overhaul. A massive overhaul. Like it's so many changes. We're not close. We're not close. We're so
Nathan,
far.
If you're Arsenal's manager and you've got that squad, you're playing Saturday. How do you set them up? I know I think I would set them up. But how would you set them up?
I'd get Pepe on the left, me. I'll get him.
Yes, 100% on the left.
I'll get him crossing balls in, mate. That's what.
Mate.
If he's gonna get on the right, he's got to cut in, and then there's no crossing.
Yes.
But if he's on the left,
he's got an option to go on the right as well.
Beat the man, jink in, do 1-2s, get crosses in, and your left back here, and he will do the same. You've now got a perfect left side. Then we'll work on what's on the right. I'll get Aubameyang down the middle. I'd actually play two of them up front, and I get someone else on the right. Because end of the day, I don't know why people are outlawing this two up front business, but it was dangerous as hell when I played, and I think it would be dangerous as hell still.
So
today.
what? 4-4-2, Nathan? Yeah.
Why not?
I've said
Why
it for
not?
ages.
Yeah, it's only because that people just think it's outdated, but it's not.
Mate.
It's not.
No.
Is outdated. 4-2-3-1 is so hard. You have to have the perfect players to play that.
Yeah.
So Barcelona was doing it, and they were killing it, and everyone tried to be Barcelona, and everyone realized just how hard it is to be Barcelona, and everyone's gone away from 4-4-2. 4-4-2 is the killer formation. Your striker has a teammate who can link up with him just from a ball over the top. Now you get a ball over the top, he's on his own against loads of defenders. How is that? Get your winger back, get your wingers taking man on, crossing balls in, and get your two strikers in the box, causing havoc, beating defenders up, winning the ball, playing 1-2s between each other, and getting a shot off.
Give the defenders something to think about with the two up top as well. Exactly. It's too easy for them.
That's Arsenal. That's Arsenal's makeup.
It's too easy.
The last time that Arsenal played something close to what Nathan is saying, and I said it last week, was when we played Leicester and we beat them 3-1 away from home, and we played them off the park with that one sitting midfield player and all that attacking players up front. Where you had the forward, the centre forward, you had the one playing behind, and you had the two players behind who were all flary, who were passing it off all around the middle.
You've got the players as well, like you got your centre defensive midfielder now. You can play. You got Odegaard. Is it Odegaard? Is that how you say his name? Odegaard who can also play in there. And then you've got Saka who could easily play on the right. And you've got Pepe who can play on the left. And you can play Lacazette and Aubameyang up front. Why not? And you got Tierney left back, Gabriel centre back. You got your boys there. I don't know who else you can put in other centre back. Maybe Holding. And you get another right back in, Bellerin or whoever the other guys are. You've got a team there.
Probably Cedric in it.
Everywhere. You've got help everywhere. You've got quality in many places. I think you'll just be more dangerous because I remember you lot playing us, I don't know how many years ago now, but when I saw the link up with Aubameyang and Lacazette, I got a bit scared. Like I was like, oh my gosh, it's only a matter of time before they get a chance. And then you lot started going to this Aubameyang on the left business, and I was like, okay, great, it's even better. He's not a left winger. Let's not play in there. Fine.
He's not a left winger. He's not a left winger. His success is his downfall because he had 2 seasons on that left and was top goal scorer in the Premier League. So to say he can't play on the left is not true. But you want to see him through the middle, but you want to see him with someone else. I don't want to say. I'm going to say this, and I know what everybody's going to say, but it ain't because I think people know. I'm not going to say it, but I thought Partey was going to be better than this. I seriously did. I thought he was going to be a lot. I mean, you can't be.
He's
not. You can't be criticised for saying that because he's not. He's not hit the ground running at all. And to be fair. He weren't even that bad yesterday, and that shows how bad we were. Because
what do you want him to do, though? That's a question. What do you?
No, I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to break up play.
What is he not doing that you thought he would do?
Go on.
A lot more than what I'm seeing.
Is he a destroyer? Is he just a passer? Is he one who gets it and just distributes quickly? What is he like? To you guys, what do you see?
For me, what Partey needs to do a bit more is just be cleaner with his play. Like I said, I don't think he was terrible yesterday. I thought he was probably one of our better players, which says a lot. But I think I think he's just because I like his breaking up the play. I like that he likes to run out of that after that as well. I like that he's got a bit more to his game than just break it up and pass it. He gets it, he runs out of it. What he needs to do now is he's very sloppy sometimes. He needs to clean that up. And once he does that, because Arsenal's way was always clean passing, slick. It's that. Now, if you've got someone in there who's can break it up, but he's not keeping that fluid play, that's the problem because he's our central midfielder and he needs to be able to do that. I mean, I've got high hopes for him because I can see what.
I personally, for me, I just want a centre midfield player just to sit and break up play and pass it off. That's all.
Yeah, but El Nene can do that. But he's
But that's all. That's what Gilberto Silva did. That's what Makelele did. That's what all these. Guess what Canty did? They didn't do nothing else. They didn't bomb forward.
No,
You know what? They were surrounded by quality players. That's the difference.
Well, if you're quality, I mean, what about? I mean, we go on about Saka. We're going on about Emil Smith Rowe. We're going on about Odegaard. And when they played together against Leicester, we did look quality.
Didn't Atletico play 4-4-2 anyway last year and all that? They played the same formation, didn't they? So that's what I mean. He could just slide straight into something he already knows as well. So that's another thing, which it's not like he's going to do
I think Jerome's right. It ain't helped the fact that he's came into a side which is all over the place at the moment.
It's all over the place. It's so... Yeah, it is. I think he's trying too hard as well. I think he's trying too hard because there's times when he's taking a shot when the shot's not on, it's sloppy passing and it's breaking up play, and it's frustrating because I've seen him play. I've seen what he can do, and he's a professional footballer. There's passes that he's making which are they're just not happening, and they're basic. So yeah, I think he could be trying too hard because he really wants it. He really wants to make a difference at this club.
Nathan, you when you say like Man United, you get annoyed that you say, oh, we need Bailey in, so we need because we only want to play that one central midfield player in the front, and then with more attacking and we're better. I mean, you have a look at Arsenal's defence; it's worse than Manchester United's.
Yeah.
So we've got to play 2 DMs all the time.
Yeah, same. So that's what I mean. And there ain't that many defenders you can buy that are going to be that good enough to do that. And that's where you get your problems elsewhere as well. So that's why just 2 banks of 4, let them sit back and then break. That's what I'm saying. Like, get the wingers to do their thing. Even if those 2 banks, them 2 in the middle, are sitters, at least your wingers are proper guys who can get on it and run with it. Like, I've seen Pepe. He can run with the ball. He can take players on.
I think he's played his best games on his left.
Yeah. So why
he's played the best games on the left?
And run. And just run. Get on it and get up the pitch. Do some 1-2s with players. Get around them and cut inside and get your shot off, or drive down and get a cross in for your players in the box who know it's coming in. But instead, what do? When you come off the right, you're going down. You don't want to cross with your right foot. You cut in. You want to shoot.
Yeah.
You're not going to cross it. Yeah. The defenders are sat back waiting to head it out. So none of your strikers going to score goals when people are sat in the box waiting to head it out. That's the hardest ever time to score a goal. You can put in 100 balls. You probably get your head on one of them. I'd
like to see the stats of how many times the inverted winger cuts back onto his actual strong foot, puts that ball in for a header, and you get goals from it against getting down the wing, getting past that fullback and whipping it in, whether that's a header or a cutback. Because when you're cutting it back from the inverted winger, you're never going to put a ball on the ground. And if you are, you are a magician. You've got a magic wand. It's not going to happen. The laws of physics in my head don't work that way. But you're always going to have to whip that ball in. So it's either going to have to go on target and a nick on like a skim or something like that, or it's just going to go on target and the goalkeeper misses it. It's not. You don't score like that. Every now and again. Who brought up Arsenal? Who brought up Arsenal? Don't do it.
I just brought that.
All right. Yeah, that was probably me, to be fair.
It was you, actually.
Yeah, Arsenal recently held talks with Dutch side fighting over the possibility of signing fullback Tyrell Messia. Jerome, what's this player saying?
You know what? Not too dissimilar to the other left back, Gabriel Goodmans from Holland. Now this guy Tyrell, he's been with Final basically, since he was about 8 years old. And you remember Gio Van Bronckhorst, the old Arsenal player. So he gave him his debut at the Final. He's again very attacking fullback. Lots of crosses. He's got his speed is like he's good. He can run quick over like a long distance. But although he's been playing for them for the last few seasons, he's had a few injuries. They've changed the manager around, so he hasn't played like as much as he probably should have done. But very, very attacking fullback again.
All right, thanks for that, Jerome. And that is it for the transfer roundup. Boom. Thank you very much for Kevin Parker, who came on tonight. Thank you very much for Ian Danter of TalkSport, top guest. Also giving me a few tips for my commentary career later on in life. And obviously the panel tonight. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Steve.
Yep, been a pleasure. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Nathan, on his first full 90 minutes plus extra time. And thank you very much for joining us, Jerome.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Obviously, the comments section. Thank you very much for joining us, Jonathan, Peter, and Mihal. Stay safe, everyone. We will catch you next week. And there's going to be a kind of a new format. We're going to be chopping up the show. It's going to be an hour long on a Sunday. When the transfer roundup is going to be on a Wednesday. We're going to be doing a few other bits. We're going to be doing match previews during the week, whether it's the Europa League or on the Saturday. So, a lot's happening with KS1 TV and the Transfer Exchange show. So keep an eye out. Peace out. Stay